Happy Monday, Crudy. Ironically enough, just as we go on air here on Brady Street, the sun's starting to peek out. It's going to be a beautiful show, a powerfully beautiful show. Lots of people are going to talk about it.
I certainly hope so. There must be virtually millions, perhaps billions listening right now, Dom.
Maybe trillions.
Some people say this is the most listened to radio show of all time.
Ever.
Hard to quantify that, but some people say. Dominic, let's start with the most important headline of the day.
All right.
Mitt Romney has a fake Twitter.
Why?
And you take some objection
come
to
on.
Mitt Romney's fake Twitter account?
Any elected official who has to hide behind a fake Twitter account, weak and cowardly. Yes, I have a problem with that.
Well,
are you suggesting that I'm not who I say I am?
Yes, Dirk Diggler.
Let's start by disclosing what your fake Twitter account is, Tom.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, I don't know.
I don't have one. I don't do that. I put my name behind what I say, unlike Mitt Romney and Carlos Danger and John Barron.
Who's John Barron?
Well, wasn't that who Trump called to talk to people? That was his alias when he would call and tell other people how great Trump was. He couldn't say that as Donald Trump because that's really freaking weird. Hey, this is Donald Trump. Let me tell you how great Donald Trump is. It's also really freaking weird when Mitt Romney uses an alias because it'd be pretty weird if Mitt Romney went out there and said, hey, I'm Mitt Romney. I think Mitt Romney's doing a great job standing up for conservatives. How about that Mitt Romney? Who's this? Mitt Romney. That's just strange. Why would anybody do that?
You want to know what my fake Twitter handle is?
Not really. But please enlighten me.
Vanilla Thunder.
Why?
Well, because I think it's appropriate. Dom, let's...
Come on, you don't get off the hook like that. Why are you Vanilla Thunder, Michael?
Well, you know why, man.
No, inappropriate. Stop it right now.
Let's lead with Chris Cillizza over at CNN. What Pierre Delecto tells us about the current Republican Party. These three things are amazing beyond words. Number one, Mitt Romney has a lurker Twitter handle. A lurker Twitter handle.
A lurker, stalker.
Number two, the handle's name is Pierre Delecto. And number three, c'est moi is how Romney confirmed to a reporter that he was Delecto and Delecto was him. C'est moi, Dom. The state, it's me. You know who supposedly said that? Actually, there's a little bit more to it. But who is attributed, although probably never said it.
Who?
Louis the 14th.
See how that
sort
worked
of
out for him.
Let them eat cake line. You know, Marie Antoinette attributed, although probably never said let them eat cake. Well, Louis the 14th apparently said something like, "Lestes, c'est moi. I am the king. You know, I am the state."
Oh, did he do it under his moniker of Louis the 14th, or did he say he was John Barron when he said that? Just asking for a friend.
Let me read on. Truly epic stuff, but before we just laugh off the whole thing, let's dive a little deeper into Romney's decision to start and maintain this account because there's a kernel of something important here. I certainly hope so, Chris Cillizza. Start here with how Romney himself described his decision to create the account in an interview with the Atlantic's McKay Coppins. Now, I just saw McKay Coppins out pushing this new article. The liberation of Mitt Romney, or Mitt Romney Liberated, I think they call the article at the Atlantic. I read it today. Here's a quote. He explained that he uses a secret Twitter account, what do they call me, a lurker, to keep tabs on the political conversation. I won't give you the name of it, he said, but I'm following 668 people.
Oh, wait, can I stop right there? This is Is he a former governor? An elected senator, ran for president?
Yes, and he's a current senator from Utah.
And his only way to keep the political pulse of America is to throw out a fake Twitter handle, a lurker handle, and follow 668 people.
You know what, Tom? It'd be much cooler if he followed 669.
Yeah, the devil's
Follow
advocate.
us, Mitt Romney's
Devil
fake Twitter
Radio,
handle.
man. Come on.
Anyways, thanks to excellent sleuthing by the Slate's Ashley Feinberg, we learned of Pierre Delecto and the fact that Romney wasn't strictly a lurker, since, by definition, a lurker doesn't comment on things, only watches.
I prefer a voyeur, but please continue.
I've seen the videos. By Feinberg's count, Pierre...
That makes you the voyeur.
Apparently it does. Pierre only ever tweeted 10 times. Romney or someone made the account private once its existence was revealed, which isn't a lot. Good analysis. But the nature of these tweets, or mostly replies, are interesting. For the most part, they represent an attempt by Romney through Pierre Delecto to make the case that he remains one of the few principled Republicans in Washington. That part might be true. In one response to criticism of Romney from liberal commentator Soledad O'Brien, Pierre noted that Romney, a.k.a. him, was the only Republican to hit Trump on the Mueller report and defended his moral compass. In another, Delecto defended Romney from a Twitter onslaught by Washington Post blogger and Trump critic Jennifer Rubin. And the most important of Delecto's 10 tweets was a response to Fox News commentator Britt Hume that questions Romney's loyalty to party. Loyalty to principle trumps loyalty to party or person. Right, Britt? Asked Delecto Romney.
Come on.
On one level, Pierre Delecto is totally explainable by human nature. Romney knows that he looks defensive and thin-skinned if he uses his official Senate account to push back on his critics. To avoid that, he creates an alter ego that allows him to do just that. NBA superstar Kevin Durant did the same thing. And of course, don't forget President Donald Trump's pre-White House telephone alter ego, John Barron. John Barron says Donald Trump's a hell of a guy.
Just ask him.
But there's a bit more here, too. And this is the point I think you would make, Dom. Think about this. The 2012 Republican presidential nominee and a sitting U.S. senator felt the need to defend his commitment to his party from behind the veneer of a fake person's account on Twitter. While Pierre is right that Romney has been more willing than most Republican elected officials to publicly criticize Trump, it's also true that Romney hasn't A, been all that critical of Trump, or B, done anything to put his discomfort with Trump into action. Instead, he used a fake Twitter person to defend himself and his image, which works nicely as a metaphor for how elected Republican officials, more broadly, are dealing with Trump. Light criticism, at most, in public, and open anger, frustration, and near rebellion behind the scenes, or covered by the anonymity of quotes without their names attached, which, last time I checked, doesn't have any actual impact on either President Donald Trump or the fate of the party he continues to lead with reckless abandon. Chris Eliza, CNN. Supports your point, doesn't it, Tom?
I think it does to a degree. Crudy, when we talked about this earlier, where's the strength and courage of these people? And Crudy, you and I mean, and we're not elected officials, and maybe it's a different world, but you asked, do you have a fake Twitter handle? No, I don't have a fake Twitter handle. We use Devil Radio.
Doesn't everybody?
I'm not clear. Why would you? Why? I mean, unless you're going to troll or be a lurker, I don't think, but why can't you follow people and keep up on politics? I just think these are excuses. I don't buy him for a minute. They're the actions. It allows him to what? Engage in some sort of pushback without really engaging. I mean, if you had something to say to Britt Hume, Senator, why wouldn't you use the platform that your senatorial office provides you? You want to have an influence on the political discourse, Senator? Why do you got to hide behind an anonymous Twitter handle following 668 people? It is the problem with the Republicans. That is terrible. And it's a joke. It's funny. It's Carlos Danger. It's John Barron. And yeah, some other folks do it. They're not elected officials. They're not frickin' senators. And if you, as a senator, don't have the courage of your conviction, maybe you're getting it now, Mitt. But you got to hide. And maybe it's only 10. It's only 10. It's not a big deal, right? I think it is. I think it goes to the core of the problem with this party and, frankly, with a lot of people in this country right now.
Says the man who will not admit to whatever his fake Twitter handle is. Because I know you got one, man. I know you
man.
got one.
Why would I lie? I don't have a fake Twitter handle.
Dunkin' Dom, something of that sort.
Come on. Okay, Vanilla Thunder.
Here are a couple. Now, you mentioned Carlos Danger, that one perhaps the most famous of all the fake Twitter handles. Dom, who was Carlos Danger?
Oh, that was, what the hell? I forget his name. I'm sorry.
Anthony Weiner.
Thank you, Weiner.
Thank you, Fancy Brian. I actually got notes here. I did my homework.
Well done.
Okay, even worse, Dom. I'm really going to put you on the spot.
Oh, hell.
Who was Anthony Weiner / Carlos Danger's wife?
She worked for Hillary Clinton. Yeah.
Huma Abedin.
There you go. Yeah.
And why is Carlos Danger? Why is that even relevant? Well, of course, Hillary's emails.
Well, he was sexting out teenagers, but besides that, yes.
I don't mean his own personal
Well, I mean, that's how it
Why
came
is
out,
he in
man.
the public light?
Besides that, because that was what first got him in the public light. And then it came out that through some shared cloud, emails, some of those emails from Clinton wound up on apparently his laptop.
Well, he was a sitting congressman, and he did run for the mayor of New York City. And in fact, allowed them to make a documentary as the Carlos Danger story was breaking. I mean, you talk about having some real courage. Who has the
reality
hubris?
TV as everything's blowing up around you?
If you're tweeting out with underage girls or whatever outside of the marital, outside the marriage, whatever, to each their own. But in this case, probably illegal. He did go to jail for it. And you got a fake Twitter handle. You're Carlos Danger, right? Why would you allow the film documentary crew into your life? There were times they had to step aside, he and his wife, because some of these stories were breaking as they were being filmed. He's like, I got to explain this one. Can I have a few minutes? And they'd walk off camera or go to the bedroom.
They'd have a timeout.
They would have to. And he kept running for mayor the whole time, right up until I think his ass got thrown in jail. Here's another one for you. Reinhold Neuber. Whose fake Twitter name was
that's right.
that?
You mentioned that also. I didn't know it when you mentioned it, Crudy, but I believe you said, James Comey.
Former FBI director James Comey. And what is the connection between Carlos Danger and James Comey other than the fake Twitter name?
Of course, Hillary's emails.
And may I point out, Dom, this weekend, Hillary Clinton completely and utterly vindicated and exonerated on her emails, according to the U.S. State Department.
No charges.
Actually,
I don't
what
know
they
about
did
vindication and
specifically
exoneration,
say,
but please.
no deliberate mishandling. No deliberate mishandling, which is, of course, what she was accused of, deliberately mishandling confidential emails. So here we are, thank goodness we all got to the bottom of Hillary's emails, and two guys with fake Twitter handles basically wrecked this woman's career. I mean, now what's Hillary doing all day other than trolling Trump and Tulsi Gabbard? That's really all she's got left.
Does Hillary have a fake email address? Should we have? I want to have this conversation because I think it's really, really strange if someone, an elected official, comes up with a fake email address or a fake Facebook account or a fake whatever, and then talks to other people about themselves. What is the point of that? That's deceptive. It's a little weird. Stand up. Be confident. Hey, Brit Hume, I will stand up for my party, but I will stand up for my principles first. What's so difficult about that? It might show that you actually have a little backbone instead of hiding behind a digital mask. That's weird.
I'm pretty clear that I know what Hillary's fake Twitter handle is.
Benghazi?
And not everyone's going to understand this reference. Someone's going to shake a fist at me. I don't care, man. I don't have a filter or a fake name. Hillary's fake Twitter handle, 100% that bitch. It's a Lizzo song. Look it up. It's not me being derisive of the former Democratic nominee, Secretary of State, and Senator. Come back with us. That's Dunkin' Dom. I'm Vanilla Thunder. We are the Devil's Advocates. We take all your tweets at Devil Radio and your phone calls as well. 844-967-2789.
Are you suggesting that I'm not who I say I am?
Fake.
What are you?
It's very obvious.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star.
I am a big, bright, shining star.
All I want to do is be able to watch.
No, inappropriate. Stop
Where
right
is
there.
the server?
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
More power, more fight, the most heart. Gingras, Thompson & Walks is more than a law firm. We're family. We believe in doing our best to help people in need and right the wrong that's occurred. For more than 35 years, we've helped thousands of clients across the state of Wisconsin get the justice they deserve. Our proven track record of success isn't based solely on our knowledge of the judicial system. Rather, we make it our priority to get to know our clients and their cases so we can best represent them. Gingras, Thompson & Walks. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com. Madison Liquidators has officially moved into a bigger, nicer showroom off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and they are proud to announce they have expanded to provide educational and healthcare institutional furnishings. They have great new offerings of quality new office furnishings from industry leaders like Groupe Lacoste and Via Seating, and you can see the expanded and extensive inventory of used furniture online at madisonliquidators.com, or you can call Kelly and have her help you make a plan for your new space. Start today at madisonliquidators.com and tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
Women want them. Men want to be them. Tom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Why men great till they gotta be great? Woo! I just took a DNA test.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And you can hit us up on the phones, talk or text toll free, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, you kind of stepped on the Lizzo a little bit. I wanted people to understand that's not my original line. The perhaps fake Twitter handle of Hillary Clinton, I said, 100% that bitch. It's from the Lizzo song. I think Hillary even tweeted from her certified Twitter account.
Own that.
At Lizzo.
Yeah, that's all right, Crudy. How about Bernie? I got one for Bernie. You ready?
Sure.
X the 1%. Boom!
X the 1%. I'd like to know, and I'd like audience participation. We can have some fun with this. You can talk about the other political important stuff, but let's have a little fun. What is Donald Trump's fake Twitter handle? I'd like to know what people's opinions are. What might be, speculation, rampant speculation called for here, Dom. But what might be Donald Trump's fake Twitter handle? You got any thoughts? This one creep up on you didn't see it coming?
I'm just wondering how long we have to work with. Perhaps grab them by the PXXY.
How about at the real Donald Trump? That's his fake Twitter account.
No, at real. Oh, the real?
I don't know. Whatever it is that he's proposing as the president, that's the fake one.
At real Donald Trump is the real Donald Trump Twitter.
I think it's probably at Bigly Hands.
At powerfully bigly hands?
Perhaps. Dominic, real quick, I mentioned the Hillary Clinton emails. I want to quote, at least in part, from a Washington Post piece, this one published on Friday. And, I wasn't a huge fan of Hillary Clinton, but I think she was crucified over her use of, a private server, and perhaps wiping 33,000 emails off her server.
You mean with
the cloth?
Cloth?
Well, Dom, I think Donald Trump said, hey, Russia, if you're listening, see if you can go find the emails. And Donald Trump, I think, got a fair amount of mileage out of crucifying and vilifying Hillary Clinton for this email stuff. And James Comey certainly didn't help her cause, nor did Carlos Danger Anthony Weiner. But here is what I took away from the Washington Post on Friday. A multi-year State Department probe of emails that were sent to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private computer server concluded that there was no systemic or deliberate mishandling of classified information by department employees, according to a report submitted to Congress this month. The report appears to represent a final and anticlimactic chapter in a controversy that overshadowed the 2016 presidential campaign and exposed Clinton to fierce criticism that she later cited as a major factor in her loss to President Trump, hashtag not my president.
Now, were there some state workers or some people were going to be censured, or there was some wrongdoing? It's not like it was a total exoneration of everybody involved. Is that correct?
I'm just talking about the candidate. Hillary Clinton effectively has been vindicated and exonerated by this new State Department finding, Tom. I mean, how many more times must we hear this was a nothing burger from the start? There's no there there.
Why would it
was good
come
political
on, man.
fodder,
there should
but
be
there
no
was no
Secretary of State ever creating
Are we going to relitigate
We're not
this
going to
point?
relitigate it. I'm going to say it to you. I'm going to say it about any Secretary of State. They shouldn't have private email servers doing public their job. That should be government computers, don't you think?
For you and every Gary that would follow your example in this conversation, in this argument, you better have the same attitude about Donald Trump. Come back with us. More devil's advocates on the other side.
True hurts needed something more exciting.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandtruth.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
An anonymous, really an anonymous.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. What about simply raising the age of weapons purchases to 21 years of age?
We're sending 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds over to Afghanistan, and they're dying. They ought to be able to vote. They ought to be able to have a beer, and they ought to be able to buy a gun to hunt with as well.
Are you suggesting we lower the drinking age?
No. Can't they do that now? What is the age nowadays?
It's 21, sir.
We drink when we toast. We toast when we drink.
Yikes.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Pobletti, and our report for Monday, October 21st is brought to you by Spectrum. Governor Tony Evers today signed an executive order calling a special session of the legislature starting November 7th to deal with gun violence. But first, U.S. Rep. Ron Kind, a Dem from La Crosse, joined a bipartisan House delegation led by Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Jordan. The group met with King Abdullah II and U.S. government officials. The visit comes amid Turkey's move into Syria and other regional challenges. Said Pelosi, quote, "Our bipartisan delegation is visiting Jordan at a critical time for security and stability in the region. With the deepening crisis in Syria after Turkey's incursion, our delegation has engaged in vital discussions about the impact to regional stability, increased flow of refugees, and the dangerous opening that has been provided to ISIS, Iran, and Russia." Kind's office declined to comment on the trip beyond what had been publicly released. The trip drew President Trump's attention yesterday, who sent out a tweet chiding the delegation and criticizing former President Barack Obama for his action in Syria. Additionally, former U.S. Rep. Sean Duffy, a Republican from Weston, has joined CNN as a contributor and commentator. Duffy, who resigned from office last month, was introduced on CNN's State of the Union by host Jake Tapper for a panel discussion. Said Tapper, quote, "Thank you for being here and congratulations on joining the CNN family." Duffy cited the pending birth of his 9th child in his resignation after discovering she had a heart defect that would require surgery. Finally, Evers' order calls on lawmakers to take up so-called red flag legislation and a bill that would create universal background checks. But Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald, a Juneau Republican, pledged his chamber, quote, will not be a part of a drawn-out strategy to infringe on constitutional rights. The so-called red flag laws would give police the authority to temporarily remove weapons from an individual found by a court to be dangerous to themselves or others. While Evers can call a special session, he doesn't have the power to force lawmakers to vote on the bills. For Wiz Politics Midday, sponsored by Spectrum, I'm Pat Pobletti.
This has been Wiz Politics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit wizpolitics.com.
The Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure, and we want you to join us. Our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison will be hosting an informational session on October 23rd at 7 p.m. to share all the details about our inaugural Devil's Advocates Mexican cruise. Join Crudy October 23rd at 7 p.m. and get all the details.
Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Expedia Prices Local Service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Ask about the Devil's Advocate Special.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I guess I've got to go a little deeper in this read at the Washington Post. Greg Miller reporting, in the end, State Department investigators found 38 current or former employees culpable of violating security procedures, none involving material that had been marked classified, in a review of roughly 33,000 emails that had been sent to or from a personal computer system Clinton used. Overall, investigators said there was no persuasive evidence of systematic, deliberate mishandling of classified information. The report cited instances of classified information being inappropriately transmitted, meaning they shouldn't have been on a private email server, no doubt, but noted that the vast majority of those scrutinized were aware of security policies and did their best to implement them. So really, we're talking about what? Some breaking of workforce rules here, because no one in my audience has ever done that.
How many people in your audience? Here. Come on, you cannot compare our very fine audience to being the Secretary of State or another high-ranking government official. It is bad policy. I don't give a damn what your political persuasion is to have a private email server interjected into the workplace. If she's going to, and this isn't a Hillary Clinton thing, this is a transparent government thing. Why would anybody set up an email server for work, for business, in a government capacity? That is not acceptable. I have a big problem with that, and I think everybody should.
Is she allowed to have a private email account?
Sure, of course.
Was she accused, or more accurately, was she found to have committed any criminality in between?
No.
Okay, so no criminality. She has certainly paid a price for her mishandling of the emails. I would say it cost her the presidency. But above and beyond that, if that's not a big enough price to pay for mishandling work emails, you would readily admit she has the right to have a personal
when you
server
put it like that. Oh, you mishandling work emails. I mean, come on, man. Most people don't have the opportunity.
Is she on the job
to
24/7
with secret information and this kind of information that would have impact greater than just whether or not a price list gets out to a competitor, man.
Okay, is she?
Let me ask
she
you. I want to be very
allowed to
clear
have
here, Crudy, because you're busting my
emails
chops. I want to be very clear. I
segregated?
want a yes or no from you. Do you think that's good policy to have a Secretary of State or any other high-ranking government official working for the government set up their own email server to send and receive emails as it pertains to their job working for the federal government? Yes or no?
No, for their job, no.
Okay, thank you.
Answered no.
That's
now
all I'm
let me
saying.
continue.
That's all I'm saying.
Let me continue. How about a person that is, been attacked on all sides, and there are people that would love to bring her personal business into the public sphere all the time. She is subject to that. Is she allowed to have private conversations with her family? Are any of us, can I read all your personal emails because you're some sort of public figure? Or are you allowed to have some privacy with your wife, your kids?
Are you asking a rhetorical question?
Yes, I'm asking you a question.
Well,
are you allowed to have privacy in your email conversations at any time? Because you're implying she's not allowed to have any sort of segregated emails.
That's not at all what I'm implying. What I'm specifically stating, if you would listen properly and not try to put words into my mouth, is that when you set up a private server and then you conduct your federal business through that server, I have a problem with that. Is that the only way she
conducted business, or is that one of the ways that business was conducted?
Was business conducted that way? Yes,
dude, I got like 5 emails.
You're not the Secretary of State.
In a breaking of procedural rules, which cost her the presidency. Let's talk about the current president. You think that's the least
now
of his
you're spitting away.
crimes?
I obviously have issues with the current president, but I'm not going to give anybody a pass. And I don't want the next Secretary of State. I don't want Pompeo. I don't want Pompeo to have a private email address where he can conduct business with the Secretary of State. I don't want any future Secretary of State doing that.
The current administration has a private attorney running foreign policy in a corrupted criminal fashion.
It's almost like
and
I brought that up.
False equivalency
it's almost
again
like
with Hillary's
brought that up. I'm not. You're the one bringing up Donald Trump when I'm talking about a specific issue with the private server in federal work.
Okay, bad policy. Can we move beyond bad policy and talk about blatant criminality and stop pretending like those things are somehow equal?
It's terrible precedent for a Secretary of State to use, or any other high-ranking government official to use an email server for their federal work. You already agreed to that.
So even an
spinning away to
exonerating
Donald Trump
report
and his blatant criminality doesn't change anything. That's bad. Anybody that wants transparent government, accountable government, that is bad, period.
And if all her emails that were sent to a public account, or pardon me, a private account, and I know lots of state lawmakers, lots of people in government who also have private accounts, and occasionally they receive emails there, and they're still subject to public records, right?
Yes.
So therefore, they're transferred over to the public server.
Sure they are.
Much like Hillary's emails are supposed to have been done.
Yes.
And this newest report by the State Department, again, I'm not saying it fully vindicates her, but says no criminality.
Okay.
No, there. Yet here you are, bad policy. Bad policy.
And I stand by those
precedent.
words. I stand by it, and you agree with me.
And that's why Pompeo's running a shadow foreign government?
I stand by what I said. I stand by my philosophy. You've already agreed with me on it, so I'm not clear what your bone is, man.
Because you villainize Hillary Clinton.
What did I villainize?
This
terrible
through
policy.
The last elective cycle, and now when the truth comes out, when there is no criminality, when there is no there, instead of a freaking apology, you just continue to hammer.
I would never apologize. It's horrible policy. What was the motivation for doing it? Why would somebody do that? Why not use the government systems? Help me out, man.
I told you, because she doesn't want the entirety of her life under public scrutiny, and I think she's okay with having some segregated emails. And if some people sent emails to her personal email address and they were sent back to the governmental servers and there was no finding of criminality, perhaps bad policy, and no systemic mishandling of classified information, at some point you got to say, boy, she kind of got a raw deal on this one. But you don't see it that way.
I don't see it that way. She never should have done it, nor should the next one. And if you think it's bad policy, Crudy, you've already said it's bad policy. You wouldn't want the next person doing it.
The State Department said it was mishandling information. It was a slap on the wrist. She lost a presidency over it. She was publicly villainized by guys like you and Fox News over it. At some point, you got to move beyond it and say there's no
fine.
there
I moved
there.
on. I accept the findings. I still have an issue with it. It is bad for transparent and open and honest government, Crudy. You know it is. So what is the problem? I don't give a damn if it's Clinton or if it's Trump. That's bad.
Yeah, because that's just it. Trump's got a little bad policy here and there. And otherwise, these, if Hillary was the president, her bad policy and Trump's bad policy, they're probably entirely equitable. Because what you're basically saying is, corrupt. No, she wasn't being corrupt. That's not corruption.
That's not what they found, Crudy. And you're the one that brought up Trump.
There is no implication of corruption in the case of Hillary Clinton. There is no implication of anything other than maybe breaking State Department policy with no systematic or criminal intent. That's completely different what the current guy's got going on.
No doubt.
Can we agree on that?
Well, of course. The current guy has
can
nothing.
We not act like the last
I don't want to
to
hear you pulling the same thing that the Republicans doing. The current guy's got nothing to do with Secretary Clinton.
Do you think we'll find some criminality?
Can you say it?
Find some criminality with Obama.
The current guy's got nothing to do with what Hillary Clinton did. If I have an objection, my objection to the current criminality with Donald Trump will be consistent. If there is a Democratic president, if there is a libertarian president, if there's an independent president and they do the same things as Donald Trump, I will be consistent in my criticism, Crudy, and I will not give them a pass because they may or may not agree with me on some philosophical or ideological opinions. I'm concerned about the corruption. I'm concerned about the open government. I'm concerned about us as citizens having access to this information that those that are elected seemingly think that they can do whatever the hell they want and get away with it. I don't buy it. I think it's bad policy. It creates issues, and certainly she paid for it. You can't say she didn't. I agree with that. Maybe she shouldn't have done it. We should not go down that road. If they're going to work from the federal government, they should be using federal government resources to do so. I'm not claiming it. Never did I say that no federal official cannot have a private email account. Of course, that's ridiculous. We don't want people using the federal systems for their private business any more than we want them doing federal business on their private emails. I want to keep that separate. That's okay.
Have you ever sent an email to the private email address of any elected lawmaker or governor or anybody else in government? Because I have.
Sure, it's all public record.
I have. Oh, it's public record. Only if it makes it onto the public record. Is that bad policy? Sometimes I'm reaching out for governmental reasons. I want to get their opinion about something. I know that they're not going to respond at the office. I send something off to their personal cell phone. Maybe their personal email address. Oh, my God, they're doing governmental business outside your direct speculation.
Don't you think that should not be done?
Well, if they move it over onto the public server and they release that information if requested, I guess I got no big issue with it.
And if they
kind of
don't,
like Hillary did.
And if they don't?
And if they don't, they're probably breaking policy. And if they're trying to obscure something for criminal reason, then I certainly hope the State Department would come up with more there than this report.
844-967-2789. Dick from Madison, you're up. Happy Monday, Dick. What do you think?
Wow. Did Mitt Romney, the most embarrassing thing about his little situation, how many people did you say were followers?
668, I think you said he was following
others.
That's the most embarrassing thing about the whole thing. I mean, did he read Profiles in Courage before he decided to do this? Or what?
You think he gets a good feel for the political pulse? And this is the joke about the whole thing, Dick. He's a senator. I mean, he can have staffers give him reports. He doesn't even read his own Twitter feed if he doesn't want to. He can get reports made for him. He has probably a sizable staff with a budget. It's just an excuse, and it's a little foolish. And I don't think the public officials.
You guys started out. You wanted Trump's
email
Twitter
account. Yes.
Yeah. 2 sets of books.
Ah, nice. Well done, Dick.
There you
Oh, sorry about that, Dick. 2 sets of books. Right now, Dick is winning with 2 sets of books. What is Trump's? Would that be a lurker handle? No, because Trump could never stay just lurking. He'd have to engage in some way, shape, or form. It's
844-967-2789. We are the Devil's Advocates. You can always join us on the phones. Just don't get me going on the, there's one other topic. I'm afraid to even go there, man. Your false equivalencies might kill this audience. We might not have anyone
bringing
left.
up other things that got nothing to do with the one thing, but please continue.
Okay, here's the other thing that has a lot to do with the first thing.
Yeah.
The impeachment of Bill Clinton. You're all okay with that. You were all down with that, right? You thought he should have been impeached.
Yes, he lied to a federal judge during a sexual harassment trial of Paula Jones, I believe was the issue there. So, yeah, I think that's impeachable. If I lie to a federal judge, I'm in all sorts of trouble.
And you think he should have been convicted and removed for office for that crime?
I don't know. I mean, high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, lying to a federal judge would get some people some serious trouble. Perhaps, yes.
So if in the Senate you would have voted to convict over a guy lying about an affair, which, to my opinion, he should not have been questioned about in that context.
He was questioned about in the context of the sexual harassment suit, Crudy, which he settled for like $800,000. I mean, it's not. You keep mixing up everything.
And how was that information obtained? How did that come to light?
Well, it was on the dress, man.
And how did that come to light?
I don't know. What's your point, man?
Linda Tripp illegally taped conversations with Monica Lewinsky and then brought them to the Ken Starr investigators?
Do you think it's okay for a president to lie about his activities while he's the subject of a sexual harassment case? Me Too? Question mark. Is that, come on, think about the Me Too movement. You think it's okay? Do you think that a president involved in a sexual harassment case should be able to lie about his picadillos at the time? Is that not relevant? Does not show behavior, a systematic way of behaving? How is that? Of course that's relevant. And he lied about it to a federal judge. I mean, what do you think should happen in those cases, Crudy?
I don't think, starting with the Whitewater land deal, which apparently was no there, much like Hillary's emails, no there. Might not have liked it, might have looked bad, but there was no there. And the man should not have ended up at the end of an impeachment because he was being questioned about whether or not he had an affair on his wife.
You realize, again, Paula Jones brought a case for sexual harassment. Now, do you think that Paula Jones should not have brought that case? Do you think that the president should not have been forced to testify?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
And do you think that the president should be forced to tell the truth when he takes an oath as the president of the United States in a sexual harassment case to tell the truth? You're okay with that, and I just have a problem with that.
Precisely that's exactly how this information came to light, because I thought this information came to light from Linda Tripp after illegally recording a conversation with Monica Lewinsky, taking it over to Kavanaugh and Ken Starr, and this information being fed back. You know, this was purposefully planted, politically damaging information, and I don't think the president of the United States should ever be on the witness stand.
Really?
Unless there's criminality.
And sexual
that was a
harassment,
civil lawsuit.
And that's okay. So you'd rather have a president on the stand in a criminal case than not a civil case. So Paula Jones should not have gotten her day in court.
If there's probable cause,
there was probable cause
of criminality.
Oh, so sexual harassment is okay.
Different standard in a civil
okay,
case.
But come on, man. Think about what Clinton was accused of by Paula Jones. Do you believe Paula Jones's accusations?
I believe he settled for $800,000.
Do you believe
what was her specific accusation, if you recall, Don?
I'd have to look it up. It was pretty graphic.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
I don't want to speculate and use the wrong words on an FCC compliant radio station. But let's just say that he was forceful with her, if I recall correctly, Crudy. We can go there. But the point is, the president of the United States was accused of sexually harassing Paula Jones, and she filed a case against him for that sexual harassment, which he eventually settled. My understanding in that case, he was forced to talk about other issues. And if you're going to have a case, a person's behavior, presumably, in the same context of other women in the workplace, could be admissible perhaps as evidence, and I think it was. And I think that we as citizens should expect that a president should be held to the exact same standard as us citizens, man. Why is that such a frickin' hard deal for you to comprehend?
And then impeached. Well, because
that's a political
by
thing.
implication, you're saying it's a high crime and misdemeanor, and therefore he should be convicted and removed from office.
Well, that's up to the Senate, but yeah, I would have voted to convict or remove, absolutely.
And that's why you're wrong. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. 844-967-2789.
Russia, if you're listening.
Man, I've got certain information, all right? Certain things have come to light.
He was literally breathing down my neck. My skin crawled.
It's the email. What? The email.
I want to know, where is the server and what is the server saying?
You'll get nothing and like it.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
Join the Milwaukee Truth Tour. Tell Chris Abley to stop taking our transit money. National economist Peter Donahue will expose Chris Abley's budget shell game, showing where the money has gone. This Wednesday, October 23rd at 9 a.m., join economist Peter Donahue and the HU transit workers at the Milwaukee County Transportation Committee meeting at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, room 201B. Transit workers and riders will demand a stop to all transit cuts and a fair contract. Join us Wednesday at 9 a.m., Milwaukee County Courthouse, room 201B.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern. This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. On the phones, talk or text is toll-free. Join us at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, go into Wikipedia, the consummate source, just to throw a little information out, just to confirm or deny small parts of the Paula Jones story. Paula Jones is a former Arkansas state employee who sued U.S. President Bill Clinton for sexual harassment. You got that part right. The Paula Jones case provided the impetus for independent counsel Ken Starr to broaden his ongoing investigation into Clinton's pre-presidency financial dealings with the Whitewater Land Company, and resulted in Clinton's impeachment in the House of Representatives and subsequent acquittal by the Senate on February 12th of 1999. So I think I got that part right. Specifically, Clinton was asked under oath about Monica Lewinsky in the Jones suit, denied ever having sexual relations with her, and I don't think he should have been questioned, but I get it. It's a sexual harassment suit, and was accused of perjury after evidence of sexual contact was exposed. Now, here's the interesting part. The Jones lawsuit also led to a landmark legal precedent by the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled that a sitting U.S. president is not exempt from civil litigation for acts committed outside of public office. Here's the other interesting part. Jones's suit was dismissed as lacking legal merit prior to Clinton's impeachment and the exposure of the Lewinsky affair. But in August of 1998, Clinton's relationship with Lewinsky and compelling evidence that he had lied about it under oath in the Jones suit was brought to light. At that point, Jones appealed the ruling. Understand, her case dropped for lack of merit, and her appeal gained traction following Clinton's admission to having an affair with Monica Lewinsky. That's an unrelated matter, to my opinion, although I get it. Workforce, did he have sex, blah, blah, blah. On appeal, Clinton agreed to an out-of-court settlement paying Jones and her lawyers $850,000 to drop a suit. A substantial portion of the settlement was expected to pay Jones legal fees. So effectively, he paid her off. He paid off her lawyers to go away at that point, despite the fact her prior lawsuit dismissed for lack of legal merit. Now whether or not he had been...
Listen, let's just get to the point here, Curtis.
Whether or not he had sex with Monica Lewinsky, and certainly it's been proven he lied, he was disbarred for it. But that is different than taking the man through the impeachment process and convicting him for
What should happen for the chief law enforcement officer of the country, the president, the head of the executive branch, a co-equal branch of government? He's in the judicial branch now, and he raises his hand and swears to his God to tell the truth and lies. What should be done with someone who's supposed to uphold the laws of this country when they do that, Crudy?
When they lie about their sex life.
I don't know why you keep saying you qualify it with sex life. So what? If you lied about taking a dump, if you lied about gambling, if you lied about what time you got home at night, the man took an oath. He's in the judicial branch. He lies under oath.
Because I've known lots of people to lie to their spouses and to the public about whether or not they committed infidelity.
It's a federal judge. And what is it? Sex. Who cares? It's sex. Get off the sex.
Well, as you pointed out, Dom,
take the sex away. He lied about sex. Take the about sex part away. He lied to a federal judge. He lied under oath. What should happen to a president who lies under oath? You think they should just get a pass. I got a problem with that.
I'm not saying they should just get a pass, Dom. I'm just saying, did the punishment, or at least the punishment sought, fit the crime, which was lying under oath about one's sex life? And I don't think it did. I don't think that was a justified impeachment hearing.
What else? If you can lie under oath about sex in Crudy's world, what else can we lie under oath about? How about drug use? Can we lie under oath about that?
I think I'd be tempted.
How about if
have you ever lied about drug use, Dom? Have you ever been questioned about your drug use by, let's say, law enforcement?
How about stealing? Can I lie under oath in a courtroom about stealing something, Crudy? How about that? Is that okay then too? I mean, where does it end for you? I'm just curious.
Well, I don't steal, so I've never had to lie about that.
Yeah, but you have sex outside of marriage, so you go, come on, man. Oh, ho, ho.
No, I feel good about the fact I've never had sex outside of marriage. Hell, man, I'm happy if I get a little sex inside the marital institution, if you know what I'm saying. But if I had to talk honestly about drug use under oath, yeah, I might lie about that.
Oh, come on.
I might lie about that.
What's the downside, man? You're under oath. You're supposed to tell the truth. That's how the system's supposed to work, right? And if you don't, there's repercussions. As the chief law enforcement, the executive branch, the president, we have to hold them to a higher standard than Crudy.
I'm going to have you sworn to tell the truth on a Bible and an Ayn Rand novel on the other side. Our two devil's advocates coming up next.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the devil's advocates at Devil Radio.
You are the enemy of the people.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Scott Walker tweeting out from a La Quinta in a Rancho del Solio Ronald Reagan fashion shirt.
You know, as a guy who's wearing a Bernie Sanders shirt, how can you rip on a guy for wearing a Ronald Reagan shirt?
Buddy, I got a Bernie bootleg on. This is cool on so many levels. You don't even know how cool I am.
I do not. If it could just be a little tighter. You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Impeachment forecast. Pelosi lays it out. I'm Mike Moss. President Trump predicts Democrats are determined to impeach him.
The President of the United States should be allowed to run the country, not have to focus on this kind of crap.
Correspondent Linda Kenyon reports the House Speaker today laid out on paper the reasons for the House impeachment inquiry.
It's broken down into three categories: the shakedown, the pressure campaign, and the cover-up. It quotes from the rough transcript of the president's phone call with the Ukrainian president that seems to show Trump pressuring a foreign government to interfere in the U.S. elections. The document contends that the president, quoting here, has betrayed his oath of office, betrayed our national security, and betrayed the integrity of our elections for his own personal political gain.
Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger says he's open-minded.
The reality is this. You can never involve a foreign government
in a domestic election for political reasons. So I'll see what all information comes out, and I'll ultimately do whatever the right thing is.
Facebook says it's identified and removed Iranian and Russian disinformation campaigns. Correspondent Donnie O'Sullivan says many of the campaigns were attacking Joe Biden.
One designed to look like it was from a Republican account slamming Joe Biden, but also another image from an account that was designed to look like it was run by Bernie Sanders supporters, also attacking Biden.
Philadelphia police are searching for leads after a violent weekend left a 2-year-old girl shot to death and an 11-month-old in critical condition with 4 gunshot wounds. Mayor Jim Kenney.
You feel like you're making progress in the city, and then this weekend happens, and a couple weekends ago happened again, and you feel like you're just losing ground.
The bomb squad was called to Midway International Airport in Chicago today after a cell phone battery or charger in someone's luggage exploded. It apparently had been run over by a vehicle. On Wall Street, the Dow up 57. I'm Mike Moss.
So the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure, and we want you to join us. Our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison will be hosting an informational session on October 23rd at 7 p.m. to share all the details about our inaugural Devil's Advocates Mexican cruise. Join Crudy October 23rd at 7 p.m. and get all the details.
Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Expedia Prices local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Ask about the Devil's Advocate special. Josh Call, a candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters, and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys, because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Third of the Earth's electricity will come from renewables by 2024.
Renewable power capacity is expected to surge by 50% globally in the next 5 years, meteoric growth that is equivalent to the amount of electricity currently churned out by America's power plants. Watchdog International Energy Agency says that blockbuster growth led by solar power is being driven by plunging costs, smarter policies, and rising concern about the climate crisis. However, the IEA warns it'll be well short of what's required to meet aggressive goals aimed at fighting climate change and curbing air pollution. The shift towards clean energy has been significant, including in the U.S., where power plants are quickly dumping coal in favor of solar, wind, and natural gas. I'm Joe Ramsey.
Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner is getting ready for the Houston Astros Washington Nationals World Series.
And National, you're going down.
The best of 7 World Series opens up in Houston tomorrow night. I'm Mike Moss.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council. To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Tune in to Matt Flynn Direct, weekdays from 2 to 3 on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison. We'll be covering all politics, national to local, from a Wisconsin perspective. This is an open mic, no holds barred, call on any political subject. That's Matt Flynn Direct, weekdays 2 to 3 on WRRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Cut you down.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Newly released figures show the disarray of the City of Milwaukee's health department has had an effect on the services provided by the department. The information that covers the year 2018 shows a drop in the number of vaccines administered, as well as a drop in the number of people seen at its sexual and reproductive health clinic. Health officials also said efforts to address lead exposure in the city were reduced. The Journal Sentinel is reporting that use of methamphetamine in Wisconsin is up significantly, especially in the northern and western parts of the state. And the Packers beat the Raiders yesterday 42-24. The Packers now 6-1. Their next game is Sunday night against the Chiefs in Kansas City. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, I'm going to give you credibility and some cover here because I think you are consistent in your criticisms. I'll give you that.
No, thanks, Michael. I'll take it.
What I think is unfortunate is that so many people overblew the whole Hillary Clinton email thing, and it became such an issue. And relative to the criminality of Donald Trump, it is so minuscule, the procedural mishandling of emails. And I'm not saying, taking one step beyond that, I'm not saying that Bill Clinton lying to a federal judge was a good thing either. But in the whole scheme of things, man, you ever met anybody that didn't lie? Ever? About some topic? If put on the spot. Sexuality is not a big hang-up for you. I get that, Dom. I've seen you naked. I'm just saying, for some people it is. For some people it's not something
it's too bad. That's just too damn bad. That's not cover. You don't get to feel really bad about a topic and then use that to justify your lying under oath to a federal judge. It doesn't matter how bad or how weird it is about how you feel about something. That has nothing. It has absolutely zero to do with it. But please continue.
And Hillary's emails, that was a perfectly fine rationale and reason to crucify and crush her candidacy. Because she misused, apparently, a private email server. That's a significant enough offense that we, the American people, should have damned her for that. Because that's effectively what happened in the press, in the political conversations before the 2016 election. James Comey came out not once but twice to publicly crucify a woman for what was eventually, just found out on Friday, perhaps not a big deal. Not systemic, not deliberate, not a big deal in the whole scheme of things. Certainly a violation of protocol.
Now, James Comey, when he came out and you and I were watching that, I thought he was going to wrap up those statements by announcing charges against Secretary of State Clinton.
So he should have kept his pie hole shut, because if he was not there to discuss the newly indicted candidate, the former Secretary of State, then there was no rationale or reason for that press conference, right? And in fact, he exacerbated the problem. And then the whole Carlos Dangers. Oh, I hate to tell Congress, I hate to do this like a week before the election, but let me throw more fuel on the fire about the false allegations being leveled at one of the two presidential candidates. And the other guy was literally under criminal investigation the whole freaking time for collusion with a foreign country. Yet somehow James Comey kept his mouth shut about that.
Right.
Well, that's my point. In the whole scheme of things, I'm not saying the Clintons are perfect. Far from. They're flawed human beings. Bill Clinton, flawed human being. Lied about his sex life. And in the whole scheme of things that people can lie about, I'm just saying, Dom, I would lie about my sex life if I were out there cheating on my wife.
But
I don't think I'd be going and telling a federal judge.
You would lie to a federal judge about your sex life if you're cheating on your wife. I mean,
if it came out of left field, did you see the video of that deposition? It was a completely unexpected question out of left field, and he did not answer it truthfully or candidly or forthrightly.
Well, right.
And he's paid a heavy burden for it. In fact,
yes, he was impeached. For it. Yeah.
We have seen the nation torn asunder, and I would say that was the beginning of what is wrong with this nation when a hypocrite to the core like Newt Gingrich goes and impeaches a man for an investigation that never found any merit whatsoever, because there's nothing wrong with cheating on your wife. I'm sorry, that is not a crime. There was no impropriety found with the Whitewater land deal. So the only crime was the fact he lied about it, right? That was the only crime.
Well,
and Hillary's
there have
only
been
crime
accusations of
a protocol violation on her emails.
Other issues with Bill Clinton and women. I mean, Paula Jones was not the only one. Monica Lewinsky was not the only one.
He was impeached for lying to a federal judge, right? And you can talk about Bill Clinton being a slimy bastard in regards to the Me Too movement and women. But that was not why he was impeached. That was not why he was impeached. He was impeached for lying to a federal judge, right? It wasn't about his sex life, according to you 5 minutes ago. You can't have it both ways. Then he was impeached for lying to a federal judge, and that's all it was about. It wasn't about trying to cast him as some sort of degenerate or some sort of anything other than lying to a federal judge, because we could never see that happen. And Kavanaugh, the guy that wanted to ask him about his sex life, you know that guy, the guy that's now in the Supreme Court after he lied his ass through a confirmation hearing? You don't think Kavanaugh lied? What was his price to pay?
Absolutely, I believe Kavanaugh lied.
How many people do you think have lied? Do you think Wilbur Ross lied? Do you think half the Trump administration lied to get their way on or failed to disclose?
So let me just, and I just want to be clear here, Crudy. Okay, there's a lot of lying bastards in this world. And if they happen to be under oath with a federal judge and they lie about it, Crudy, well, I guess here's the problem.
What would happen if they lie to Congress?
What would happen to you? What would happen to
hearing?
you if you were in that position? Why is it so terrible for me to expect that the same consequence that would happen to me?
I'm not saying that he shouldn't have a civil consequence in a civil trial, although the case dismissed because it was found to be without merit.
Well,
what
the
I'm
case
saying,
dismissed without merit because one of the reasons, perhaps, because he lied, Crudy.
Really? If Paula Jones had credible evidence that he had sexually harassed her, you don't think a jury would have found? You think the lying about having whether or not he had sex with an intern a decade later was the make or break of Paula Jones's case?
Do you? We'll never know.
Well, that
we'll never know because he lied during I don't know why this is so difficult for you, dude. I don't know.
Because it's a false equivalency.
What's the equivalency? What am I?
Here's the dude.
There's no equivalency. Listen. Let me be very clear here. If you're the president of the United States of America and you find yourself under oath in a court of law and you lie about your behavior, you lie about a question that is asked of you willfully, maliciously, knowingly, doing that, subverting the judicial process. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't care if it's about sex or something else. Come on. We got to have some sort of standard. That standard would be applied to me. And until...
Okay, but the American people did not feel like it was enough justification to convict. And the American people, that was a political trial, right? And the politics, the American people found themselves more supportive of the presidency of Bill Clinton than before he was elected president. So here's my only point. You're not going to find a perfect candidate, a perfect president, a perfect anything. And if the standard is 100%,
no, it's a very low standard. Low standard, like not lying to a federal judge, kind of a low standard. Are you kidding me, man?
And not using private emails, or you should be publicly vilified for the rest of your freaking life, and the press should make that out, just like the corruption of the Trump administration and the Trump campaign and the Trump org. Because it's all the same, right? Because we're going to be just as righteously indignant about someone misusing emails or lying about their sex life as someone that would corrupt the entire office of the presidency of the United States. There is nothing that I have seen about either Bill Clinton's picadillos. I mean, how did that harm the American people in any way, shape, or form? If he was never asked that question, how would that have affected the American people? Was it somehow he was corrupting the office by having sex with the intern? No, it wasn't important to the presidency of the United States, whether or not he was having sex with the intern. And that's eventually why he was not convicted. And Hillary Clinton, I would say, is generally has been exonerated by this new State Department report. Because if the Trump State Department could have found fault to cast, they certainly would have, beyond a few procedural culpabilities among some State Department staffers. If there had been deliberate mishandling, if there was criminality, she'd be getting charged and goose-walked right now, Dom. And you know it, and I know it. Bill Barr would have her ass in jail, lock her up. So the fact that there's no criminality there was no there from the get-go, and we have wrecked her career because effectively she's done. Hillary Clinton's got no future. She is done. She has been so vilified by the press and the American people because she had a private server. And then we look at what the next guy has. And that's perfectly okay to like 45% of the American people because, Hillary's emails.
Well, because she's a Democrat and he's not. 844-967-2789. Dave from Evansville, you're up. Happy Monday, Dave. What do you got for us today?
Hey, happy Monday. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dom, you're very much like Donald Trump in one important way, and that is that both of you refuse to read anything. And I know
Dave,
why
that's a
you
false
do
statement. I don't want you being false news here, man. I read all the time, but please continue.
All right. Well, you refuse to read
Give him a
anything
homework
that I've
assignment,
ever...
Dave. What should he have read?
All right. Well, years ago we discussed this, and I informed you at the time. Now, and I just want to say that I personally think the reason you won't inform yourself on these things is so that if you knew about it, you wouldn't be able to run your ugly mouth on the air. Okay? If you go into
easy, Dave.
You're
pushing limits, buddy.
Federal judge, and you lie about the color of your underwear or whether you've been drinking the night before, that is not perjury. Call up your friend Jim Santel and confirm that. It is not perjury unless you lie about something that's pertinent to the case. And his sex with Monica Lewinsky was not pertinent to the case. So now go ahead and run your mouth and tell your lies after I've told you the truth. I dare you. Goodbye.
Well, thank you for the call, Dave.
Good day, sir.
I'd be happy to. It is pertinent to the case because it shows a pattern of behavior by the defendant, by Bill Clinton, in doing what he did. And of course, there are other accusations out there. These are facts, man. And certainly you're right. If you're under oath and you forget something, literally forget something. Yeah, I don't know what color underwear I have on right now. I think it's blue, but could be red. I was trying to debate today what I should wear. All right, I get that. But come on, you can't believe for 1 minute that Bill Clinton didn't know whether or not he had sexual relations with that woman. I don't know what to say, man. That's a problem. And I would hope that everybody would want the same consequence that would happen to them. That would be wrought upon us as citizens in that same situation. I'm just looking for some consistency and expectation. Justice is blind and all that. I don't want politicians and big corporations and all these people that get away with it all the frickin' time because of connections and money and influence and yada yada. Damn it, this is our country. We the people. We got to hold some standards, man. And one of those standards is if I do it and I get in trouble for it, so should they. 844-967-2789. Come back with us. It's the 420 break.
There is nobody that respects women more than I do.
Mexico is going to pay for the wall.
He is an unbelievably talented guy. I'm telling you, Scott Walker.
I wish you weren't a liar.
Good day, sir.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, The Devil's Advocates. And at 6, It's Busted, Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO of Five Nines. Have you got your head in the clouds on how to manage IT for your enterprise? We can make your dreams a reality. With our enterprise cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting, we'll manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Consider Five Nines your personal enterprise IT solution. Enjoy technology. For more information, visit fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Hello, Madison. Join me, Ken Harwood, every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. until noon for my new show, Development Matters. From job creation to sustainability and everything in between, join me and my guests in discussing the realities surrounding jobs, business, and the environment each week. These are tough decisions, and we're going to seek real solutions for development in Wisconsin. Tune in every Saturday for Development Matters with Ken Harwood from 10 a.m. until noon, right here on Talk 92.7, Wisconsin Political Talk.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We take all callers. 844-967-2789.
Yeah, but we only take them once. And Crazy Dave, you hung up on yourself, buddy. We didn't hang up. After you talked about Dominic's ugly lion mouth, then you said goodbye or something of the fact, and we hung up on you, man. That's how it works around here. Call us back tomorrow, Dave. We'll give you another crack at the champ.
I have a dirty, whorish mouth.
967-2789. You got a pretty mouth. Let's get back to the phones. Chris from Sun Prairie, you're next. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey,
well,
Chris.
you're definitely expanding your audience. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree with Dom on this one. I really think that, Clinton was wrong, and he got kind of what he deserved, I guess.
Should he have been convicted and removed from office, Chris, to your opinion?
That's he should go through the process, and he did go through the process, and it didn't happen. So I guess, the process worked. I'd like to see us at least let the process work this time, which is not happening because, we all know that Mitch McConnell holds everything up. He doesn't allow anything to happen that he doesn't want to happen. And that's a real problem. So I really worry about that.
Chris, my understanding is Mitch McConnell is preparing his members and, in fact, brought a PowerPoint presentation to prepare his members for the fact that there will actually be a legitimate, thoughtful, reasoned Senate trial, and not because Mitch McConnell wants to, but he's got enough vulnerable Republican senators that have to be seen considering, the gravity of the circumstance. He can't do it fast and dirty. Apparently, the talk now is that there will be a legitimate Senate trial.
Good. Then the pressure that we're bringing to bear is working. We've been down in D.C. Trying to get Kavanaugh impeached and to get Trump impeached. So I'm glad to hear it. I don't really trust Mitch McConnell, so I'll see what happens as things go. But the man's not too trustworthy. So we'll just have
Chris,
to see.
I realized one guy lied about sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky, and one guy lied about what he had to drink and whether or not he forced himself on some girl when he was in high school. But, Chris, is there any line of distinction between big crimes and little crimes and stuff you did before you were the president or stuff you did after you were the president? Are any of us exempt from being questioned about anything? I mean, if you're the president and you lie about whether or not you got toe jam, is that an impeachable offense according to this strictest reading of you You lied.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it goes to an issue of character. If a man's cheating on his wife, I would question his character. And I want somebody with a good character and integrity.
Don't vote for the man.
Right. And if the Congress moves to impeach him for lying to Congress, then that's what he's got to face. Because I don't think you should lie to Congress. I think we have a lot of that going on now. And I think the big problem that we have is people haven't been held accountable.
Yes.
Way back, like when Reagan was, making deals with the Iranians behind the back of the president, I mean, these things have just gotten worse because everybody's got so much dirty laundry to hide that they're all covering for each other. I really think integrity is very important, and I think we need to bring integrity back to the office of the president, and I think we have the guy to do that, Bernie Sanders, who had a crowd of over 26,000 people this weekend in New York City. It's not getting much coverage, but Bernie had overflow. That was what the park could hold. There was overflow into the streets. Bernie's got a really good base of support, and I don't think people are aware of it because the media does not like Bernie. I mean, I know it sounds paranoid, but there's just too many really obvious examples of it. CNN took a comment that Bernie made at the debate, and they attribute it to Elizabeth Warren. I mean, how do you make a mistake like that when you're a professional journalist? I just don't know. So
I'm not clear either,
I think we
Chris.
need integrity.
I would say Bernie's back, and we appreciate your call. And quick note, that Atlantic article about the liberation of Mitt Romney, deep in the text of that article, Mitt Romney talks about Bernie Sanders. And Mitt Romney talks about, I got family, I got my faith. This is just a job, effectively. He's newly liberated. He said, I'm not like that curmudgeon Bernie. He lives it. He believes it, according to Mitt Romney. I thought that was a hell of an endorsement from Mitt Romney. He's like, this isn't an act. This is 24/7, cantankerous, feel the burn Bernie Sanders. And I tell you what, I've been predicting Elizabeth Warren. I might have to reconsider. I'm back to feeling the burn, baby. Those big endorsements, that big crowd, and the authenticity of the man, I still feel the burn in my heart. Come back with us, many more of your phone calls this hour at 844-967-2789.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at DomandCroot.com.
Talk it out, man. Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
You've got a dirty, whorish mouth.
My congressman, our good friend Mark Pocan. If Donald Trump's under attack, Mark, are you worried about his inspired followers rising up and voting him to re-election?
I am trying to approach this with blinders on when it comes to the political side of it. If he has violated the Constitution, it is our obligation to do an impeachment. And I think from what I've read, I feel that. I think when we get some witnesses in, we'll really have full clarity on that. But if it was just political reasons, some people say, well, then you're going to get, Mike Pence, is that good? And you can second guess every decision we ever make in politics if it's just about politics. In this case, I think that you rise to the Constitution. And if he has violated the Constitution, which I believe he has, there's obstruction on multiple counts, then we have no choice but to do our constitutional job and go after that.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at DomandCroot.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's DomandCroot.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
The Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure, and we want you to join us. Our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison will be hosting an informational session on October 23rd at 7 p.m. to share all the details about our inaugural Devil's Advocates Mexican cruise. Join Crudy October 23rd at 7 p.m. and get all the details.
Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Expedia Prices local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. Ask about the Devil's Advocates special.
Gingras, Thompson, and Wachs, the attorneys with more power, more fight, and the most heart, are here to serve you, Milwaukee. From personal injury to civil rights cases, we are determined to combat dishonesty and injustice. And our team brings the fight with integrity, passion, and dedication that never quits. Together, we right the wrong, and we are ready for battle. There are law firms, and then there is Gingras, Thompson, and Wachs. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org. P4ppc.org. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The state of Wisconsin has received permission to start drug testing applicants for unemployment benefits. Back in 2015, Republicans approved drug testing as part of the state budget, but needed permission from the federal government to implement the tactic. Now, the Trump administration has granted that permission and issued rules allowing Wisconsin and other states to test those seeking unemployment compensation if the only jobs they can do routinely perform drug tests. The plans to test unemployment applicants for drugs came as part of a wide-ranging effort under Republican Governor Scott Walker to tie government assistance to drug testing. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. You can always join us via phone at 844-967-2789, or you can tweet us out. Our real Twitter handle is @DevilRadio. Can't tell you what the fake one is, but Jacob Smith tweeted us, "Hey boys," something to the effect, "Hey boys, can we have an argument, founded in this century?"
Yeah, I think we can.
One last thought, Dom. I was never a huge fan of Hillary Clinton, but I would even readily admit no one has been more vilified unfairly, I think, in politics than Hillary Clinton. And I would say, under that circumstance, I'm not at all clear why she's choosing to smear one of the Democratic candidates, Tulsi Gabbard. She has certainly been the victim of many, many smear campaigns. The right-wing conspiracy, I believe it. But Dominic, she went out over the weekend and she started, casting aspersions about one of the candidates. And I would point out, Tulsi Gabbard said, "Yeah, me." Hillary Clinton did not name Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard sort of...
self-identified?
Yes, self-confessed, one would say. But basically, Hillary Clinton implied that Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset. A couple of tweets I found over the course of the weekend. Maria Barrett at NBC. I asked at Tulsi Gabbard twice if she disavows Russian state media support of her campaign. Gabbard, this is not about Russia. This is about the smear campaign that has been waged against me. And again, the second time she was asked, I don't control them. I don't control what anyone else says or does. Now, Bill Browder noted that tweet and added something on here, Dom. Tulsi Gabbard said that she doesn't control the Russian bots that support her, but she did control the hiring of Chris Cooper, the smear campaigner who was paid by Natalia Veselnitskaya.
Ooh, I remember her. She was a Trump Tower meeting lady.
With Don Jr., right? So Chris Cooper, the smear campaigner who was paid by Natalia Veselnitskaya and her Russian-backed sponsors to smear me and try to repeal the Magnitsky Act in D.C. So my understanding is, Dom, at least per the tweets I've seen, Tulsi Gabbard, A, is supported by lots of Russian bots, and B, this Chris Cooper that her campaign hired was also formerly in the employ of the Russian honeypot who had the Trump Tower meeting, Veselnitskaya. That's a poor association one wants to make.
And
you should not hire someone that was hired by a Russian spy to help work on your campaign. I'm just saying.
Well, why not? It worked for Trump. But let's not forget, the Magnitsky Act that she wanted repealed was put in place because the Russians tortured to death in prison the CPA, an accounting guy named Magnitsky, who found that the Russian as a government, stole hundreds of millions of dollars from the people of Russia. And I believe some of those very dollars may have been funneled through Deutsche Bank and into real estate in Manhattan. But I could be wrong. But that's my recollection specifically. The Magnitsky Act were...
Sure it wasn't about the annexation of Crimea?
It was there. They were put in place. Sanctions were put in place because of that violence and because of that corruption. So it's not just about repealing the Magnitsky Act. It's about why those sanctions were put in place, what they did to make this act become law. It was never about Russian adoptions. Here's specifically...
The meeting was originally for the purpose of getting information about Clinton.
Oh, yeah, see. Especially, it'd be great if it comes, especially later in the summer. Here's what Hillary Clinton said, according to The Hill. Quote, "I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who is currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians." And Tulsi Gabbard hit back, quote, "You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain." That's what Gabbard tweeted on Friday.
844-967-2789. Before we lose any more of our inpatient callers, Phil from Waukesha, you're next. What's up?
How you doing?
Hey, good, Phil.
Thinking positive here, say that either Bernie or Elizabeth, either one of them win the nomination, and yeah, I have no trouble with both of them. I like them both, and I'm kind of like in the situation that you're at, going back and forth, But just for conjecture here, who do you think would be a good teammate or a candidate, vice presidential person to be with either one of them? I don't know. Do you think Elizabeth would be a vice president good match with Bernie, or no? Or do you see anybody else in the race that would be a good match for either of those two? What do you think?
Well, Philip, I would like to think, and this is kind of my little pipe dream, I would like to think that circumstances may lead to either a Bernie Warren ticket. I think it's less likely it would be a Warren Bernie ticket. I think he's a little too old to be the sidekick. But I think to pull the progressive wing of the party together, and I think that is the larger portion of the wing, I think that is theoretically possible. I saw an article out there this weekend. It's time to start discussing the possibility of a Warren Bernie ticket or a Bernie Warren ticket. Now, a lot's got to happen between now and then. What I've seen speculated is that Elizabeth Warren's campaign is perhaps considering someone like Gillum. He was the Florida gubernatorial candidate that did very well despite voter suppression efforts. I've also heard Stacey Abrams' name mentioned, another dynamic candidate from the Deep South. And I would say that Elizabeth Warren, if she has a chink in her armor, it's her inability currently to attract African-American black support to her campaign. I think something of that sort, to take one of the young rising African-American stars and lift that person onto her ticket, I think that would be a masterful stroke. But first you got to win the primary. And first, you've somehow got to bring together these progressives, be it the Warren progressives behind Bernie or the Bernie progressives behind Warren. I'm not sure how that's going to work itself out. I could see a Bernie-Warren ticket, but I could not see a Warren-Bernie ticket. I think it'd be less effective, Philip.
Thanks for the call, Philip. Crudy, we've heard it battered around here, of course, from Wisconsin. What about Senator Tammy Baldwin? Do you think that's a realistic option?
Throw Klobuchar on the ticket if you're going to do that. I mean, she's very much like Amy Klobuchar, Tammy Baldwin. They're similar candidates. I think that Tammy certainly could show the way in terms of the success of her last campaign. She won by double digits. Tony Evers won by the skin of his teeth. She was obviously the much more popular candidate, but she also had $28 million in a relatively small state to work with. There was plenty of money and resources behind Baldwin's campaign. They rolled it out. It was very well run. They did exactly what they wanted to, and they had the success they wanted. But I think Tammy Baldwin, and I like the senator from Wisconsin, I don't think she's any more dynamic than Tim Kaine was on behalf of Hillary Clinton. I don't think Tammy Baldwin brings anything to the ticket.
844-967-2789. Tony from Portland, you're next. Happy Monday, Tony. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dom, why you're going crazy today, man? I
mean, come on, man.
Well, I mean, the one thing I can say is when it comes to following the rules, you followed the rules, because when Crazy Dave dared you to keep on running your mouth, you kept on running your mouth. I don't know why you guys are going down this Clinton rabbit hole.
Well,
again.
I mean, because of course she's basically got a pass from the investigation. I mean, that came out on Friday, and this is the first time we've really had to talk about it. And Curdy and I have been kind of bantering about behind the scenes here over the last week about some of the historical stuff with Clinton, and it gave us kind of a reason to erupt on the whole thing. But
sometimes we got to pick our fights, Tony.
Well, you did a great job. I mean, that's fantastic, but. I think what I didn't hear anybody saying was this all started with Whitewater, and they just kept trying to get him on something and something and something. And I mean, I don't believe there's anything called a perjury trap, because if you don't lie, you can't be trapped into perjury.
Right.
But they knew that he was going to lie about having sex with Monica Lewinsky when they popped it on him, and then that's finally what they got him for. And to me, in politics, in Washington politics especially, that's like a parking ticket, what he did. I mean, parking in a loading zone. I mean, in comparison to the shenanigans that go on a daily basis up there, what Clinton got impeached for was just pathetic. That's what I thought, and most of the American people thought so, and even the Republicans in the Senate apparently thought so. That's all I got.
Excellent points all, Tony.
Thanks, man. Always appreciate it. Tony from Portland.
Always appreciate a Crute fan. 844-967-2789. It's because you got that dirty mouth, Dom.
Dirty whore mouth. Robert from Dallas, you're up. Thanks for calling today. Robert, what do you got for us?
How about Nina Turner or Castro for a VP? What do you guys think of that?
I'm less enthused about Castro, although he seems like an up-and-comer. I'm not sure.
I like Castro.
And because of the advanced age of whoever the top of the ticket, I think Robert Reich said today, there's only 3 Democrats that matter, and it's Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders. And they're all 70-plus years old. I would say, if anything, although I'd love to see some sort of, alliance made in progressive heaven between Warren and Bernie, I think far more likely whoever is the top of the ticket needs a younger, perhaps more diverse co-pilot. Because we're talking about 3 white candidates. I think a Gillum for Elizabeth Warren would be a masterful pick. He's so smart. He's so good. He is so talented. I think he'd be very dynamic as the sidecar. I mean, I just look at the prior examples. We cannot go back to putting a stepdad on the sidecar. We don't need another Tim Kaine. We need someone that's going to inspire voters.
Yep, I agree with you. Yeah, Nina Turner seems very strong to me. She's such a strong advocate for Bernie whenever she's interviewed. I could see her as a VP pick, actually. So.
Robert, do you believe in the whole, if we have a progressive nominee, do you believe in the whole, well, we got to bring balance to the ticket, we got to find some centrist to put on the ticket with the progressives.
No. I think that's how we lost 1,000 seats, right? So not only do we have to get progressives in there and move the thing left, we also have to get them in the Congress and Senate as well to support it. We don't want another rerun of Obama where he can't get things done because there's too many centrists or blue dogs that are in there, fighting against the agenda. So, no, we definitely have to move left. The question is how far and what are people comfortable with.
Robert, who are you most comfortable with as the nominee? You leaning towards Warren or Bernie or one of the others?
I think Bernie, because I know he'll actually do what he says he'll do. I mean, there's 40 years on video of him saying the same thing. I think Warren's also very strong. I'm just a little concerned that on some of the stuff like Medicare for All, will it actually happen, or will the tendency to go towards the center?
Appreciate the call, Robert. My understanding, Elizabeth Warren has a plan for that. She's rolling out a plan to pay for Medicare for All. We'll have to judge it once we see it, Dom. Does Donald Trump have a plan for anything?
He's got a plan for tweeting. He's going to plan on tweeting. I guarantee you Donald Trump will tweet.
Build the wall, make Mexico pay for it. That was his plan, right?
Well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Well, 0 out of 2.
Come back with us. Perhaps I'll read you a Crazy Dave angry rant tweet. He's tweeting at you now, Dom, at Double Radio.
Come on.
Prefer when you call us on the phones, but Dave, you had your chance. 844-967-2789.
We now have a president of the United States who is a racist.
You've got a dirty, whorish mouth.
You're wrong.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
Join the Milwaukee Truth Tour. Tell Chris Abley to stop taking our transit money. National economist Peter Donahue will expose Chris Abley's budget shell game, showing where the money has gone. This Wednesday, October 23rd at 9 a.m., join economist Peter Donahue and the HU transit workers at the Milwaukee County Transportation Committee meeting at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, room 201B. Transit workers and riders will demand a stop to all transit cuts and a fair contract. Join us Wednesday at 9 a.m., Milwaukee County Courthouse, room 201B.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Go back to where they came from, help those people come back and show us how to do it. That was the full quote.
They didn't come from anywhere. They were here, dude. Are you employed, Chris?
I am.
Do you have an HR department?
Yes, I do. I'm a union machinist.
Oh, do you work with minorities?
I do.
If you walked up to one of your coworkers who was a minority, you told them to go back to where they came from, would HR have a conversation with you about that, do you think?
It depends on the person, really. I mean, some people are...
If somebody complained to HR about what you said, do you think they would have a conversation with you about that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, but why? Why would they pull you off of your job to discuss this with you, and what do you think their beef would be?
Because they're trying to protect the corporation from lawsuits.
Lawsuit for what?
Discrimination, racism.
So if your coworkers, if you say it to your coworker, it could be described as discrimination or racism. But when the president says it to the world, it's not racist?
No.
Yikes.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. And you can hit us up on the phones. Toll free, talk or text at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, here's what I know for sure, Bernie's back, baby.
Yeah.
That was a huge rally he had in Brooklyn today, and it was a huge endorsement, AOC, in Ilhan Omar. And the squad, 3 of the 4 squad members have now endorsed Bernie Sanders. And that's a big deal. And I would point out, I didn't see a Bernie bro amongst them. You know, the
of the bros, 3 of the 4 squad, yes, they are not Bernie bros.
Feminine and not very white, I'm just saying, Dom. But anyways, a big rally happened this weekend in New York City, and Bernie, my understanding, limitations. They had pulled a permit for 20,000. Then they had to stop letting people in the park. The security company registered a number greater than 25,000. I know Donald Trump took note of that because he's claiming he had over 25,000 in Dallas the other night.
I know you can, but what about me?
Anyways, let's play it for the people. I understand we've got a few cuts of Bernie from Saturday. You know, the big rollout, the big endorsement rollout, AOC. But first, my guy, Bernie Sanders, played for the people. Fancy Brian, Bernie cut one.
I am more than ready to assume the office of President of the United States.
Sounds
That's
like a
what
big crowd.
Really big crowd sounds like.
Wow.
More from my guy, Bernie, played for the people, Fancy Brian.
We got a permit for 20,000 people, and we had to close the doors. So to all of those who couldn't get in, thanks so much for being here, and thank all of you for being here today.
Now, Dominic, we were in Washington Square Park in Manhattan when Bernie Sanders had something north of 40,000 people during the last elective campaign before the New York primary. But anyways, I digress. Let's go back to more Bernie Sanders on Saturday. About 25,000 in attendance. Played for the people, Fancy Brian.
The whole damn 1%. They're not going to give up their wealth and their power without a fight. And the question that we have got to answer together is, are we prepared to stand up to them and transform this country?
I think I got a Twitter handle there. At the whole damn 1%.
We got one more Bernie Sanders. If you would, Brian, play it for the people.
To put it bluntly, I am back.
Bernie's back, baby. He's back. I would say that debate, these endorsements, that rally, Bernie is back. A few from the guest of honor, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has the hearts and minds of all the progressives, and she drives them nuts.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the Scott Walkers, the Donald Trumps, they all hate them. Some AOC, which is in part why I love me some AOC. Let's play it for the people, Fancy Brian, a little bit of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez endorsing my boy Bernie.
We right now have one of the best Democratic presidential primary fields in a generation. And much of that is thanks to the work that Bernie Sanders has done in his entire life.
Okay, more AOC building up to the big moment. Played for the people, Fancy.
Bernie Sanders fought for me. When I was growing up and education was being gutted for kids in the quote-unquote wrong zip code, Bernie Sanders fought for us.
And one more. Let's hear the endorsement. AOC in a big park in, Brooklyn, New York, at a Bernie Sanders rally on Saturday. Play the endorsement for the people, Brian.
The only reason that I had any hope in launching a long-shot campaign for Congress is because Bernie Sanders proved that you can run a grassroots campaign and win in an America where we almost thought it was impossible.
Well, I didn't hear the official endorsement, but believe me, she's
there.
The
She
bird.
did.
She did offer her endorsement. I think that was a very big moment in the campaign, perhaps as big or greater than the moment when the Working Families Party endorsed Elizabeth Warren. That was a little bit of a surprise. And some can say, oh, no surprise the AOC would endorse Bernie Sanders. Yeah, it is a little bit of a surprise. She is a congressperson now. There aren't a lot of people, electeds, that are willing to put themselves out there this early in the process. And some thought she would hold back and wait and see if Elizabeth Warren gathered steam and then, wait until the important primaries had been decided and then cast her endorsement. Well, by then it doesn't matter, does it, Dom? So this, a very meaningful endorsement early in the primary process, and it doesn't carry the weight of a superdelegate, but I think it carries the weight of the hearts and the minds and the passionate portion of the Democratic Party. I think Bernie's back, baby.
Well, and of course, the younger demographic of the Democratic Party, AOC, you know, she's younger. And what I really liked, I saw some of the clips on the cable news shows with Bernie sitting next to AOC, and they're being interviewed together. And you could tell there's a camaraderie, a respect, a relationship there between the two of them. It was really a great moment, I thought, to see them two interact together. And I'm down. I think that's a fantastic endorsement for Bernie Sanders. He is back. The question is, can he maintain it? Can he come back and overcome both, of course, Elizabeth Warren, but Joe Biden? I mean, Joe Biden still has a huge lead, and we know that he's short on money, but he's up on the polls, at least right now.
I'm not clear that Joe Biden is up on the polls. Sure, I've seen the national polls that show Joe Biden's in first place. I'm not clear that matters a whole hill of beans. It's really about the early primary states and the early caucus states. And I think Iowa matters a lot more. One little side note. Pete Buttigieg on the move today in the polling out of Iowa. 1, 2, 3. It was, I believe, Biden, Warren, Buttigieg, and then Sanders. Pete Buttigieg, a big mover on the ups. He's now got 13% support, at least in the newest polling I had seen. I thought that Biden was at about 15.
I got it right here. Biden's at 18, Warren at 17, Buttigieg at 13, Sanders at 9, Harris at 3.
And which poll is that again, Don?
That's the Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus USA Today Suffolk poll. Came out today.
But what about the Yang gang, Tom? Where's Yang at?
Yang pulling a 1. Bullock, O'Rourke, and Bennett. I'm sorry, Bullock and Bennett at 0. O'Rourke 1, Booker 1, Yang 1. And Klobuchar, Gabbard, Steyer, and Harris at 3.
Now, Dominic, I did watch the Circus on Showtime, the political show. John Heilemann, Alexandria Witt, I believe. But John Heilemann, I don't know if you know, Dom, but they were showing John Heilemann at Otterbein University at the Dem presidential debates. And I was riding shotgun with him on a Kamala Harris interview. They did use that interview. You can see my hand sticking out with the phone in my hand. You can just see my camera, very familiar. But also, I snuck into a Yang shot. And while it was blurry, I'll grant you, Dom, it did make me ever so slightly famouser.
Yeah.
And blurry, yes, but sexy, always. Come back with us. The sexiest product on the radio. Listening is believing. Come back with us. The happy hour starts right now with your phone calls at 844-967-2789.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
Mike, that's a very good question. You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators. We've officially moved into our new space off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and we're excited to announce that Madison Liquidators is now Dane County's premier dealer for Groupe Lacoste. In addition to their unbeatable 25-year warranty, Groupe Lacoste has 10 lines to choose from, ranging from traditional to ultra-modern, all available in 18 different finishes. Give me a call and let's make a plan for your space, or go online to madisonliquidators.com and shop our complete inventory of used office furniture.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Impeachment probe, G7 meeting. I'm Ann Cates. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is laying out the case for the impeachment inquiry. Correspondent Linda Kenyon reports she has listed actions made by the president.
Speaker Pelosi has released what her office is calling a fact sheet that outlines what it calls a gross abuse of power by President Trump, including what Pelosi calls a shakedown, a pressure campaign, and a cover-up. The fact sheet cites quotes from the rough transcript of the president's phone call with the Ukrainian president. It paints, quoting here, a damning picture of Trump abusing his office by pressing a foreign government to interfere in our 2020 elections.
President Trump says he would have hosted a gathering of world leaders at his resort near Miami for free, but he had to back down in the wake of bipartisan backlash. Correspondent Boris Sanchez.
President Trump said that he wished he could have held it there, that it would have been the best G7 ever. The president also lamenting what he called the phony emoluments clause, incorrectly suggesting that he's the only president ever to donate his salary, and possibly also George Washington.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has declared disasters in 16 counties after severe weather battered the region, including Dallas, which was hit by tornadoes.
The storm ripped across busy streets and tore through neighborhoods.
Whole trees coming down, partial trees coming down, pieces of houses and parts of the road.
Extensive property damage across the city, but Mayor Eric Johnson confirms no serious injuries or deaths.
So I'll be very grateful for that. I'm happy to report that has not changed.
Now it's the cleanup phase, with many left wondering where to start.
Probably wait for the insurance. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Clayton Neville, Dallas.
The National Weather Service says the tornado that ripped through North Dallas was packing 140-mile-an-hour winds and has been rated an EF3. Gains today on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up 57 points. The S&P 500 closed up 21. The Nasdaq up 73 points. I'm Ann Cates.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
We've got U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. Ron, in all seriousness, if this was Barack Obama, you'd be screaming, "Stormy, stormy, stormy," from the rooftops.
You're too young to understand this excuse. This would be the Sergeant Schultz answer, "I know nothing."
But as the chair of the HISCAC, sir, Homeland Security Governmental Affairs Committee, you could get to the bottom of this, could you not, Ron?
I see nothing. I know nothing. Making radio great again.
Some California parents have changed their pleas in the college admissions scam, while 15 others continue to battle prosecutors.
The most notable among those still fighting the charges are former Full House actress Lori Loughlin and her husband Massimo Giannulli. The change in pleas for the other four parents come as former Desperate Housewife star Felicity Huffman, known right now as inmate 77806-112, begins her second and final week at what some call a very posh, low-security federal prison in Northern California. So posh, in fact, inmates are allowed to walk the grounds outside prison walls. Loughlin is back in court in January. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
The country's second Sesame Place park will open in San Diego in 2021, almost 40 years after the first one debuted outside Philadelphia. It's part of a partnership between SeaWorld Entertainment and Sesame Workshop. SeaWorld announced at the end of its orca breeding program in 2016. I'm Ann Cates.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll Hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. In a 29-page indictment today, Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictments.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers is calling lawmakers back into session to address gun violence in the state. Evers announced this morning that he is convening a special legislative session which allows the governor to force lawmakers to consider legislation on a topic of the governor's choice. Evers wants the lawmakers to consider two bills that have so far been ignored by the Republicans who control the state Senate and Assembly. One measure would allow judges to take guns away from dangerous people, and the other would require background checks on almost every gun sale. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, cloudy and windy with a chance of rain, lows in the mid-40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour, and I want to bring our attentions closer to home. I don't know if you know, but Sean Duffy's got a new gig. Apparently spent enough time with family. Above and beyond that, our fair senator, the senior senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, out there saying crazy stuff on Mark Levin's show. And special session. Governor Tony Evers is calling the legislature into special session. And I want to talk about that first, but we'll get there in just a moment, Dom. I want to start with some national polling, and there is a method to my madness. Bear with me. Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post. PRII's 10th annual 2019 American Value Survey released Monday paints a picture of a highly polarized electorate. Though healthcare is the highest rated issue overall, 65%, followed by terrorism at 54%, Democrats and Republicans do not share any of the top policy concerns. Here's what it says. Democrats are most likely to regard healthcare, 77%, as critical. But Democrats rate climate change 72% and foreign interference in presidential elections at 63% as the next most critical issues. By contrast, Republicans' top three critical issues are terrorism at 63%, immigration at 60%, and crime at 50%. Dom, I read on. Support for the impeachment continues to increase, although the partisan divide is sharp. Prior to the launch of the House impeachment inquiry, 47% of Americans said that Trump should be impeached and removed from office, compared to a majority, 53% of Americans who disagreed. While Republican, white, evangelical Protestants, and you know who you are, Gary, 99%, and Republicans who say Fox News is their primary source of news, 98% oppose Trump being impeached and removed from office. White evangelicals and Fox News viewers at 99 and 98% oppose the impeachment of Donald Trump from office. An increasing share of Democrats and independents support impeachment and removal. And Trump is an effective party recruiter for Democrats. Here again is a quote. More than 1 in 4, 27%, say they have become more likely to think of themselves as Democrats. Fewer than 1 in 5, 17% say they have become more likely to think of themselves as independents. So that is what? About a 44% shift towards Democrats or independents, Tom. Well, just 13% report that they have become more likely to think of themselves as Republicans. That's like a negative 34, but I read on. While Trump's approval remains underwater, Democrats should exercise caution in their choice of a presidential nominee. Almost 2/3, 65% of Americans say they are certain about the candidate they will support in November of 2020. Nearly 4 in 10, 37%, say they will support the Democratic candidate over President Donald Trump, no matter who the Democrat is. And nearly 3 in 10, 28%, say they will support Donald Trump no matter who becomes the Democratic nominee. But notably, 1/3, about 33% of Americans say they will vote dependent on who wins the Democratic primary. Moreover, opposition to Trump is more intense and fixed than in his support, with 3 in 4, 75% saying there is almost nothing Trump could do to win their approval.
Yep.
Americans who approve of Trump's job performance are more open to the idea of changing their mind. 2/3, about 66%, say he could do something to lose their approval. So 75% of people who want Trump gone say there's nothing he could possibly do.
Hell no.
And 66% of those that support Trump say he could still blow it. A little bit more here. The good news for Democrats is a high percentage of Americans overall who agree with their progressive policy stances, making college tuition free at public institutions, 68%. Making recreational use of marijuana legal, Dom, 67%, and a Medicare for All plan that would replace private health insurance with government-backed health insurance coverage for all Americans, 63%. About 1 in 3 Americans strongly favor each of these proposals. And right now, and I conclude here, buddy, right now, Senator Bernie Sanders leads the Democratic field in net favorability amongst Democrats and Democratic leaners, with 55%. That's plus 55. He is followed by former Vice President Joe Biden at 46, and Senator Elizabeth Warren with 43, then Senator Kamala Harris at 31%. That's plus minus amongst Dems and Dem leaners. So, Dominic, here's the point. On policy, the Democrats have the American people, about 2/3 of the American people. And I would point out, here in the state of Wisconsin, do we have legal recreational marijuana?
Nope.
How about medicinal marijuana, Dom?
Nope.
I mean, support for medicinal marijuana is nearly 80%. How about Medicaid or Medicare for all?
Oh, hell no. Increasing the socialism in the state of Wisconsin, we cannot possibly do that.
Well, Dominic, the Marquette University Law School polling would show that more Wisconsinites favor that proposition than would favor it nationally. What about sensible gun safety measures, Dom? Where do you think Wisconsinites are on that topic?
I think most Wisconsinites are for some sensible gun violence prevention program.
Which brings me back to where I started this hour, Dom. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers calls lawmakers into session to tackle gun violence. Molly Beck at the Wisconsin Journal Sentinel, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers is calling lawmakers to Madison to tackle gun violence, but his plan relies on placing more limitations on guns, drawing an immediate rejection by Republicans who control legislation in the state capitol. Now, I'm going to jump forward here, Dom. Here is a quote from Governor Tony Evers. How many times can you go against 80% of the people of the state of Wisconsin, essentially telling them to go to hell and expect to be reelected, Evers said Monday. It doesn't make sense to me. But Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos said the plan has no future. In this plan, universal background checks and red flags. Red flags for those deemed by a judge as not, safe to have their weapons. And their weapons could, quote unquote, be confiscated, but only after their extended due process by a judge, and the judge would decide whether or not they should have their weapons. Here's a quote. Liberals across the country are upping their rhetoric in support of taking guns from law-abiding citizens, Fitzgerald said in a statement. The Senate will not be part of a drawn-out strategy to infringe on constitutional rights. Dom, you got this one?
I got this, man. Crudy. Voss said the proposals infringe on Second Amendment rights. Here's what he said. A special session call will not change where my Assembly Republican colleagues and I stand on protecting the Second Amendment rights of Wisconsin citizens. As I have repeatedly said, we will not entertain proposals that infringe on our constitutional rights. Unquote. How very general and generic. There's already lots of restrictions on, quote unquote, your Second Amendment rights. Mr. Voss, can you go and buy a Tommy gun right now? I would think probably not. I continue from the article. One measure would establish a new so-called red flag law, which would allow judges to take guns away from people who are deemed to be a danger. Another would require a background check on almost every sale of a firearm. Fitzgerald and Voss, those are the Republicans, folks, said the measures, quote, could just be the first attack on the Second Amendment after Evers said last month he would consider mandatory buybacks of assault rifles, but later was cool to the idea. Voss said, Today's call is another indication that Governor Evers stands ready to confiscate guns in our state. Evers said the Republicans' majority in the state legislature could be at risk if the measures aren't passed. Here's what Evers said. This is what the majority of people want. Each and every day, the elected officials choose not to take gun violence seriously. There is a choice that has significant consequences. Each and every day, Republican leadership chooses weakness over common sense. There's a choice that has consequences, unquote. Fitzgerald said this summer he thought Wisconsin laws already covered the kind of protections typically created by red flag laws, which allows family members and law enforcement to petition a judge to order firearms to be surrendered by anyone deemed a threat to themselves or others. He also said he doesn't support expanding background checks because of Republicans' oppositions to such a move, which is rooted in a fear that the policy would create a registry of guns.
Now, let me go back to the polling, Marquette University Law School polling from last month. 81% of respondents in Wisconsin favor red flag laws.
81%.
81% of respondents. You know, the support for red flag laws, I believe, if memory serves, higher amongst gun-owning families. Higher than the polling in the state, which was 81% in favor. Now, here's another one, Dom. 80% support expanded background checks on private gun sales, including gun shows. So we've got 80% for universal background checks, 81% support for red flag laws. And hell, Dom, there's a 57% support for a ban on assault weapons.
Wow.
Now, I know we're not going to get from here to there, not with Fitzgerald and Voss.
But they may not be there if they don't do something. Obviously, the polling, and I think Governor Evers has a great point. How many times can you just slap the Wisconsin citizens in the face knowing that this is something that people want addressed?
Well, they've done so continuously, Dom. The people of Wisconsin did not want the lame duck session. 98% that contacted their lawmakers said don't do it. 2% were supportive. Of course, Voss, Fitzgerald, the Republicans, and Scott Walker signed it into law. Well, they don't give a damn about their constituents, Dom, or they would start taking actions to reflect the will of Wisconsin voters. They don't give a damn. And here's what I would say. They are betting on the gerrymandering because there's no other way. I mean, Fitzgerald's off running for Congress. I know that. Trying to make a national name for himself. Did so well here in the state of Wisconsin.
Bring these successes to the nation.
And Robin Voss knows that effectively he's got a permanent majority in the highly gerrymandered assembly. He's got a job for life. At least under the current system, the baked into the cake, the malfeasance Republicans baked into the cake. The only reason they can turn their backs on 80% of people on gun laws, 80% of people on medicinal marijuana, expansion of Medicaid, highly popular. Hell, the people of the state of Wisconsin are ready for Medicare for all. And to hear these Republicans tell it, get rid of Obamacare, go to jail, you frickin' hippies, and gun stuff, no, that's infringing on the
come on, Crudy. At some point, they have to figure the math out. 80%, that includes a big chunk of Republicans. Your gerrymander will not protect you from Republicans who want some of these issues addressed.
Well, one would like to think. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. More Wisconsin headlines and your phone calls as well. 844-967-2789.
The manufactured outrage by the Democrats right now is hilarious.
This community means about as much to me as a festering bowl of dog snot. Move this man!
Dom, the Devil's Advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420 cruise from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. We begin in the City of Angels with the Devil's Advocates reception on April 17th, departing the next day for a 7-night cruise with stops in Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico on board a shiny new Carnival Panorama cruise ship.
Expedia prices local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers.
Madison Liquidators has officially moved into a bigger, nicer showroom off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and they are proud to announce they have expanded to provide educational and healthcare institutional furnishings. They have great new offerings of quality new office furnishings from industry leaders like Groupe Lacoste and Via Seating, and you can see the expanded and extensive inventory of used furniture online at MadisonLiquidators.com, or you can call Kelly and have her help you make a plan for your new space. Start today at MadisonLiquidators.com and tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
You know, I thought it was really important to share with people my diagnosis of cancer. The Affordable Care Act is the kind of thing that's going to keep me alive for a long, long time. Why? Because they can't throw me off of my health insurance simply because I have cancer. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare provided for that. They can't raise my rates and my premiums so high beyond community rating and beyond age rating. Obamacare created that. They can't cap the amount of benefits that they are willing to give me over a lifetime. I have medicine that costs $18,000 a month. They can't force me to pay out-of-pocket costs beyond a certain point. All of that happened because of Obamacare. Thank you, Obama.
You can listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at DomandCrute.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's DomandCrute.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, and on Twitter. You can hit us up on the phones, toll-free talk or text, 844-967-2789.
Quick note, Dom. Winter is coming. And you better go cruising, at least next April, with the Devil's Advocates. Going to have a informational meeting this Wednesday, October 23rd at Expedia Cruise Centers in Madison off Mineral Point Road. I'll be there about 7 p.m. Come cruising with the Devils. But, Dom, let's get back to the headlines of the day. This one dropped over the weekend. Separation of powers case could set Wisconsin apart. Well, of course, we're talking about the lame duck massacre. I'm going to read from the reporting. When the Wisconsin Supreme Court decides a major separation of powers case stemming from last December's lame duck legislative session, the outcome could result in a constitutional legal doctrine scholars say would be substantially different than other states.
Uh-oh.
One of these states is doing its own thing, Dom, kind of like our corrupted campaign finance laws.
The Wisconsin way.
John Doe 2 Walker off the hook. I read on. The case before Wisconsin's highest court, set for oral arguments today, represents a significant legal challenge to the law the Republican legislature passed in December that curbed the authority of the incoming Democratic governor and attorney general. Of course, we mean Tony Evers and Josh Kaul. The laws, which Republicans passed after losing full control of state government, but before Democrats took office, have survived one other challenge brought to the state Supreme Court by the League of Women Voters and others. That, I'll just read. The group argued the laws were unconstitutional because of the procedures Republicans used to call the legislature back into session to pass them. The case before the court on Monday, brought by the Service Employees International Union, the SEIU, and others, targets the law on another front, arguing they violate the state's constitutional separation of powers doctrine. Now, personally, Dom, I told you I never thought the other case had much merit. This case has lots and lots of merit. The law requires the Attorney General to get permission from the GOP-controlled legislative committee to settle lawsuits. That's the JFC, the Joint Finance Committee, and they guarantee the legislature can intervene in many cases using its own attorneys rather than those from the State Department of Justice. If the court condones what some legal scholars call the legislature's constitutional hardball, it would place Wisconsin in a league of its own in how it regards both the powers of the Attorney General and the state Constitution separation of powers doctrine. Here's a quote, Tom. What's so unusual and bold about this arrangement is that they're taking litigation and day-to-day decisions about litigation, which are usually thought of as the quintessential executive power, and giving them to the legislative committee, right, said Miriam Seifter, a UW-Madison law professor. Wisconsin would become an outlier in allowing this. If the state Supreme Court sides with the Republican legislature, Seifter argues it may be sending the signal the justices don't plan to patrol political power plays. Meaning, wild, wild west, kind of like our campaign finance laws. Another quote. The separation of powers principle means that some legislative acts encroach too much into the powers of other constitutional actors. If this law doesn't cross that line, it's not clear what would.
Crudy, while disputes between governors and attorney generals over their powers is nothing new, there are a few cases pitting a state legislature against the attorney general, which is traditionally viewed as an executive role. Here's a quote. Howard Schreiber, a political science professor at UW-Madison. The idea that the attorney general is in any way anything other than purely a creature of the executive branch is really a radical notion. The National Association of Attorney Generals has pinpointed cases from Colorado, Indiana, and New Hampshire where either the legislature or governor disagreed with the attorney general's decision to pursue or not to pursue a lawsuit. In each of those cases, the authority of the attorney general was affirmed. In the New Hampshire case, the state Supreme Court cited the state separation of powers clause in defending the attorney general. In that case, New Hampshire Senate had enacted a bill that required the AG to join a lawsuit challenging the ACA. The state Supreme Court deemed the bill unconstitutional because the state separation of powers clause, quote, is violated when one branch usurps an essential power of another.
So the question becomes, will the Wisconsin Supreme Court act with precedent from around the nation and understand that you got separations of powers both constitutionally on a state and federal level? Or are you going to let Robin Voss and Scott Fitzgerald change the Constitution of the great state of Wisconsin? You know, I'm not holding my breath, Tom, because they just might. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls, 844-967-2789.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out the Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
Powers that you wouldn't believe.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Go back to where they came from, help those people, come back and show us how to do it. That was the full quote.
They didn't come from anywhere. They were here, dude. Are you employed, Chris?
I am.
Do you have an HR department?
Yes, I do. I'm a union machinist.
Oh, do you work with minorities?
I do.
If you walked up to one of your coworkers who was a minority, you told them to go back to where they came from, would HR have a conversation with you about that, do you think?
It depends on the person, really. I mean, some people are...
If somebody complained to HR about what you said, do you think they would have a conversation with you about that? Okay.
Absolutely.
But why? Why would they pull you off of your job to discuss this with you? What do you think their beef would be?
Because they're trying to protect the corporation from lawsuits.
Lawsuit for what?
Discrimination, racism.
So if your coworkers, if you say it to your coworker, it could be described as discrimination or racism. But when the president says it to the world, it's not racist?
No. Yikes.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on WRRD 1510 AM. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 9 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's Matt Flynn Direct. From 3 to 6, the Devil's Advocates. And at 6, it's Busted Pencils, Brandy Grayson, and Maggie Dawn. Wisconsin's Political Talk. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
Join the Milwaukee Truth Tour. Tell Chris Abley to stop taking our transit money. National economist Peter Donahue will expose Chris Abley's budget shell game, showing where the money has gone. This Wednesday, October 23rd at 9 a.m., join economist Peter Donahue and the HU transit workers at the Milwaukee County Transportation Committee meeting at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, room 201B. Transit workers and riders will demand a stop to all transit cuts and a fair contract. Join us Wednesday at 9 a.m., Milwaukee County Courthouse, room 201B.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A new report says the keys to reforming the Milwaukee Police Department are community engagement, having a diverse workforce, and cultural competency. The report also urges the Fire and Police Commission to create a community-oriented policing policy that would be integrated into training and professional development opportunities for officers. The report says the training should be culturally responsive and trainers should be members of the community. The commission voted to craft the policy and referred the matter to its Policies and Standards Committee, which meets next week. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, cloudy and windy with a chance of rain, lows in the mid-40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's Political Talk.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The happy hour continues with your phone calls at 844-967-2789. Dom, we were repeating the reporting of Riley Vetterkind at the Madison.com, the Wisconsin State Journal. And Vetterkind reports that the SEIU has challenged the lame duck in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Oral arguments happen. They've probably already occurred. And the SEIU challenges the lame duck over the separation of powers. And they are saying effectively this lame duck power grab of the legislative branch infringes upon the power of the executive and the attorney general by extension. But here's what their legal pleadings are, Dom.
Yeah, let's hear this.
Wisconsin's an exception, ? Attorneys hired by the state legislature, however, argued the separation of powers doctrine in Wisconsin's constitution is more flexible than many other states.
Like yoga.
In court documents, the legislature's attorney, Misha Tetzlin, and I would point out, he's that Kokor from West Virginia. He got hired to the state of Wisconsin to run the Solicitor General's office, and then it was well-funded and lots of good attorneys, air quotes, and their major responsibility was apparently to sue the Obama administration. And after the Republicans in charge, talking about Brad Schimmel and Scott Walker, lost, Well, then he just became the favored attorney, the private attorney for the Wisconsin legislature.
No,
I didn't want anyone to forget who Misha Tetzlin was.
Well, and I want everyone to know that maybe he was successful in doing so because when he left his phone on the bar at the restaurant we were at, you brought it back to him.
Yes, I did.
You're such a nice guy.
One of my greater life regrets. We could have cracked that phone down.
No. See, we're good. Maybe we're just too good at guys. We need to be meaner. More mean.
Perhaps. Back to the reporting of Riley Vetterkind. The legislature has argued that the state's flexible constitution, along with the fact it says the powers, duties, and compensation of Attorney General shall be prescribed by law, mean the Attorney General has no constitutional authority, and the legislature has the final say over his or her powers. Attorney for the legislature argued the state constitution would allow the legislature to strip the Attorney General of their ability to settle any cases at all if they so wished. And Rick Essenberg, the president of the conservative Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, they're the Lawyers for the Right, funded by billionaire think tanks, Tom, said the case is an example of the legislature preventing the Attorney General from usurping its authority by settling litigation in ways that run counter to the legislature's interest. For example, Josh Call dropped the state's appeal of the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals decision declaring that federal laws block provisions in Wisconsin's right to work law, which prohibits companies and unions from signing contracts that would require workers to pay dues or fees to the unions that represent them. Former Attorney General Brad Schimmel, a Republican, had asked the U.S. Supreme Court to take the case. Now, here's the quote from Essenberg. What James Madison said is that the branches should jealously safeguard their power. That is what the legislature is attempting to do. He doesn't see the irony there, right? They're going to steal powers from the Attorney General because they're jealously safeguarding their own powers.
No. They're just preventing the Attorney General from usurping the legislature's authority by settling litigation in ways that run counter to the way the legislatures would like it to run. But this is also an elected position.
Dominic Schwerber agreed the state constitution has a fluid separation of powers doctrine and that the Wisconsin courts have allowed power to flow between the branches. But he argued the legislature's laws curbing the Attorney General's and the governor's authority may go too far for even Wisconsin. That's because they allowed the legislature to encroach upon a core executive role, the Attorney General's discretion in applying the law. Schwerber argued it would take an unorthodox view of the Attorney General's role to find such an encroachment acceptable.
Unorthodox.
I bet you there's some pretzeling going on right now on the conservative bloc, the 5-2 controlled conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court. And thank you so much, Team Neubauer, for failing to win back a seat. But I read on. To uphold the legislature's argument, the court would have to find or discover a new and radically unusual idea that the Attorney General is not squarely within the executive branch, Schwerber said. Even Essenberg, who believes the state constitution grants the legislature oversight authority over DOJ, said taking on part of the Attorney General's role is not a small task. It's intrinsically difficult for the legislature to manage litigation. Essenberg said the legislature isn't set up well to do that. That's why it's not their role, Essenberg. Now, attorneys for the plaintiffs have argued the legislature's veto authority over Call amounts to a substantial burden on his ability to faithfully execute the law. Call demonstrated that earlier this year when he had said several cases were pressing deadlines that could award the state millions of dollars and were essentially on hold due to dispute with the legislature's appointed oversight committee. Call is required to seek the committee's approval to reach settlement agreements in certain cases, but Call and the committee have failed to agree on a confidential procedure for how to do so.
Crudy, I'll wrap this up from the Wisconsin State Journal, Riley Vetterkind. The political consequences. Republicans have argued the laws they pass give them a seat at the table in legal decisions that can have vast political and policy implications. Schweber said the public should be concerned about the legislature turning the Attorney General office into a means for one political party to go after enemies or shape policy through selective application of the law. Here's a quote from Schweber. That kind of direct control by the legislature over the processes of law enforcement really brings to mind the fears of unrestrained government that separation of powers was intended to forestall in the first place. Essenberg said those fears are overblown and that corruption by the Attorney General was possible before the legislature ever inserted itself in DOJ business. See, there's just oversight. They're just making sure that the Attorney General, is not corrupt, Crudy.
Aren't they replacing the will of the duly elected Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin? Yes. That is a constitutional officer, Dom, who won by a majority of the public's votes, yet they would choose to usurp that power.
And you could argue that he won, based on some of his decision-making on these cases.
Well, what I would question, Dom, is how history, and I think I know how history will judge this very partisan Wisconsin Supreme Court. But will they go against the Wisconsin Constitution? Will they go against precedent? Because aren't they hamstringing the next Republican Attorney General?
But they're going to also have to find some sort of legal justification. They're going to have to put it down on paper, and then they're going to have to vote on it. And with the recent cases, again, this is a separation of powers issue. I don't know. Now, the constitutions of the states can be different, certainly, but you gotta wonder how the majority Republicans are going to twist this into something that is not entirely laughable in order to get it through.
I'm not sure that not laughable is a standard that the Wisconsin Supreme Court's conservative bloc will hold themselves to. And I tell you what, under a normalized circumstance, I think that this is a meritorious case. I think that Robin Voss and the boys and girls over on the Republican side, they're seeking too much power. They are infringing upon the power of the executive and the Attorney General. But you got a 5-2 conservative court. And I would say, Dom, maybe you could find one conservative of conscience on that court, but I'm not sure where you're going to find a second conservative of conscience. And Patience Rogensack, who is now the chief executive, the chief justice, well, that's her reputation. That's her history. And I'd like to think that, we could somehow pressure her, cajole her into doing the right thing. But I'm not at all convinced. I'm not at all convinced that the conservative bloc of the Wisconsin Supreme Court is not going to rule against, 100 years plus of precedent, rule against the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, because if Republicans want it, there is no power grab that crosses that line as far as the Wisconsin Supreme Court is concerned.
Well, and again, this is in the case, the legislature is arguing that the powers, duties, and compensation of the AG shall be prescribed by law. And then, of course, their opinion based on that is they could strip, based on the Constitution, that very narrow portion and interpretation, that they could strip the Attorney General of their ability to settle cases at all if they so wished. And
effectively, logistically, they've done that through obstruction on the Joint Finance Committee, Dom. The process is broken now. The opioid settlement, the multi-state opioid settlement, the state of Wisconsin didn't even have someone at the table, is my understanding, Dom, because the vindictive, petty power brokers over at the Joint Finance Committee see John Nygren, see Alberta Darling, your darling girlfriend, because they want all the power, Dom, and they don't care what the Wisconsin Constitution says. They don't care what the right thing to do is. Hell, they'll even hamstring the next Republican Attorney General because it's all about galvanizing power now.
Now, yes, absolutely.
They want it now. And if they're going to lose, they'll change the Constitution. It's not a loss, not when you own the Supreme Court as well.
Well, it's not a loss if the ramifications from that decision aren't impacting you right now, and perhaps they won't impact the next election cycle. Hell, when it finally comes around that there is the other political party in charge and the Republicans find themselves, well, odds are it won't be the Republicans now that push this through.
Now, Dominic, we started this hour talking about the will of the American electorate in the state of Wisconsin, people that vote here, and Republicans are basically going against that will, be it the lame duck, which we know about 98% of those that responded to their lawmakers said, don't do this. Wisconsinites overwhelmingly said, don't do this. When you look at all the important issues of the state, I mean, be it gun safety, be it medical or recreational marijuana, be it the expansion of Medicaid, Republicans are going against the direct, overwhelming will of the Wisconsin people. So the question is there any line they will not cross? If they're going against 98% of their constituents to pass these lame duck bills, why would we not have confidence that the Wisconsin Supreme Court will go against the will of the Constitution and the founders, if that's what's necessary, to entrench more power with these Republicans?
Well, if I'm going to go based on the trend line, Curdy, I have to assume that the Republicans will do exactly that.
We are the devil's advocates. I'm sorry, it's not always good news around here.
Come on.
What about Dom, the special session? Will Republicans even take up special session? Will they just say, no, Tony, we're not doing what you want us to do. We're not even going to have debate. We're not even going to take this special session legislation to the floor, despite 80% of Wisconsinites, depending on which proposition, be it red flags where there's 81% support, or universal background checks where, it's a meager 80% support here in the state of Wisconsin. I don't think they'll take up either, Don. They'll be defiant. They'll be obstructionist. They'll just say, screw you, Tony Evers. Come back with us.
You and what army?
More devil's advocates on the other side.
We've got to protect our phony baloney job, gentlemen. We must do something about this immediately.
We have to bring back law and order.
Judicial system.
Dom, the devil's advocates are going on an adventure.
Join Crute and I for our inaugural 420 cruise from our friends at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers of Madison. We begin in the City of Angels with the Devil's Advocates reception on April 17th, departing the next day for a 7-night cruise with stops in Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico on board a shiny new Carnival Panorama cruise ship.
Expedia prices local service. Visit them on Madison's west side off Mineral Point Road or Google Expedia Cruise Ship Centers.
More power, more fight, the most heart. Gingras, Thompson & Walks is more than a law firm. We're family. We believe in doing our best to help people in need and right the wrong that's occurred. For more than 35 years, we've helped thousands of clients across the state of Wisconsin get the justice they deserve. Our proven track record of success isn't based solely on our knowledge of the judicial system. Rather, we make it our priority to get to know our clients and their cases so we can best represent them. Gingras, Thompson & Walks. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. In the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Free and equal education is and has always been a cornerstone to this nation. Yet our public school systems, once the envy of the world, has never faced more scrutiny than right now. Caught between political bickering and big business cash grabs, our schools are under attack, and the people that stand to lose the most are our children. Join Dr. Tim Slecker for Busted Pencils Radio. Educated educators talking education. Tuesday nights at 7, right here on WRRD 1510 AM, Milwaukee.
The Devil's Advocates, so relevant they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And We are back. Last segment of the day. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can have your voice heard right now. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we've got new news.
New news
on a special election in the state of Wisconsin. Tony Evers has got a new proposition. Apparently, the last proposition didn't meet federal standards. Sean Duffy, got to replace Sean Duffy. He resigned from the Congress on September 23rd of this year, right? And I find it very ironic, Dom. Here we are, less than a month later. What's today, the 21st?
Let's see. I saw Bill Glauber wrote an article on August 27th that Duffy explains his decision to retire over the health concerns of his unborn child.
Well, over the course of the weekend, Dom, we found out Sean Duffy's got a new gig. Sean Duffy is going to be a pundit, a talking head for fake news CNN.
Oh, come on. CNN? Really?
How did they think that hiring this conspiracy theorist, this apologist for the president, was a good idea?
Because that's essentially the core of the Trump support right now, and they wanted someone to, talk to the Trump people, I guess. You got to, representing all sides. Regular folks and the Trumpsters.
Now, Dom, we talked about, a month ago, a little before that, when it first became apparent that Duffy was resigning and leaving the Congress. And I pointed out, I'm not here to judge another man's decision, but was he truly leaving to spend more time with family? Well, this Down syndrome baby with a heart defect has been born like 3 weeks ago. And now Duffy's back out, earning? Guess he's got to make some moolah, Dom. I bet he got a raise.
I'm sure he got a raise. Also, again, going back to Glauber's piece back at the end of August, here's what he said. I love politics, but I love my family. I think it's always a balance. He added, I'll figure out different things to do for a better balance where I can support Rachel and the kids, but not with the same schedule that I have as a U.S. congressman. And I would get, again, regardless of politics, this one human being, and knowing what his circumstances are, he's probably around the house more. Maybe he can do it in the studio somewhere locally. Maybe he's not on the road as much. Certainly got to support the family. So I can understand him, going out and getting a media job. But I don't understand CNN's decision to think that would be a great idea to have on their news channel.
Now, a quick note, Dom. Tony Evers set special election to replace former U.S. Rep. Sean Duffy for May 12th, according to Patrick Barley. A special election to replace former U.S. Rep. Sean Duffy will be held in May, 3.5 months later than originally planned. Democratic Governor Tony Evers set the new election schedule Friday after discovering the one he had initially established violated federal law because it didn't give military and overseas voters enough time to get absentee ballots. Under the new plan, the primary will be February 18th, and the general election will be May 12th. The primary will fall on the same day as the regular spring primary, but the general election will come a month after the April 7th election, when voters will choose a state Supreme Court justice, and Wisconsin Democrats will say who they want their presidential nominee to be. Now, I don't understand. Why not just align the elections, Dom? February 18th and April 7th. Why a month later?
I don't know, but perhaps there is a political motivation to try to keep the Republicans from coming out and voting at that point.
Yes.
I don't know. The time, I'm not familiar and knowledgeable of the timelines and the restrictions. And of course, if you're going to have somebody run, they got to, go out and get their signatures. I mean, there's certainly, a formula to work within. What I don't understand is whatever that formula is, why don't you just let it spit out when it is and be done with it? If it has to meet federal guidelines. You certainly got to give the candidates time to get their signatures and so on and so forth. Well, whatever those dates are, why not just do them? Because you know what's going to happen. I think in some regards, perhaps this was another decision-making factor for Duffy. They're going to be voting on impeaching President Trump before the end of the year, right? I mean, that's going to happen. And perhaps Duffy didn't want to have some sort of vote, have to make a vote like that got out ahead of this, like lots of other Republicans have been doing. So it's at some point,
Yeah, but he made his announcement before Nancy Pelosi made hers.
Well, sure, okay, but that doesn't mean we weren't on that track for some time to come, man. But I'm
less clear. Me and Jim Santel were counting the days since the Mueller report, thinking we were on a slow train to nowhere.
But my concern being now for the people in that district is they're not going to have a representative to cast a vote in their stead to represent them at the impeachment trial of Donald Trump. And I think that's problematic. As I said before, as soon as they know, they should get it planned out, work the numbers, slam the dates, and the dates are what the dates are.
Well, it wouldn't be the impeachment trial. It would be the House
voting to
sending
impeach.
it over to the Senate for the trial. One other recent resignation, Rebecca Clayfish. Now, we know her husband well, Joel. He's a hell of a dad, and I will readily grant Joel Clayfish he's a good dad. But here's my question. Rebecca leaves the suffragette movement. She was supposed to be the spear tip on this 100-year anniversary of the right for women to have the vote. And it seemed like a good choice. Wisconsin was the first one to ratify women's right to vote here. We were number one. And a female former lieutenant governor, a very prominent former politician in the state of Wisconsin, hired, yet she quit well before the celebration of 100 years. And she used the excuse, well, my daughters and my husband need me. And I would point out Joel's a hell of a dad. And Joel's been great. I see him on social medias. And I don't mean to hold that against the guy. I'm just pointing out, seems like he's got it handled. And sure, mom's away a lot, but I bet she was away a lot when she was the lieutenant governor. So the rampant speculation, even in the Journal Sentinel, is she just quit this job to position herself to go run against Tony Evers for governor in 2 years?
Maybe.
Much like I think Sean Duffy quit his job and said, oh, it's about the family, but then he picked up a new job less than 30 days later.
Well, the odds that we know everything that politicians tell us, everything that's going on in their mind, and the truth and the reality and the time that it happens, I think are pretty slim. Spike, I can give you about 45 seconds. Happy Monday, man. What do you got?
Hey, Spike.
Okay, well, real quick. Number one, not scheduling the election like Evers has chosen to do means that there's one less Republican vote regarding the impeachment.
Sure.
I mean, it just makes sense, political sense, that, okay, well, maybe I was wrong about it. Now I've got to reschedule it because of the federal regulations. So it's a great thing. As for Duffy taking another job, hey, God bless him, man. At least he's not in the House of Reps anymore.
Right. Thank you, Spike. Appreciate it as always.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Appreciate you listening to us. We'll do it for you again tomorrow, maybe with some guests, maybe not. Never can tell. They're the greatest radio show ever, with or without guests. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again on Tuesday.
By the way, not in my opinion, in the opinion of hundreds of thousands of people on Twitter. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
If I were to guess, I have one name in mind.
Cadet Bone Spurs.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators. We've officially moved into our new space off Pleasant View Road in Middleton, and we're excited to announce that Madison Liquidators is now Dane County's premier dealer for Group Lacoste, In addition to their unbeatable 25-year warranty, Groupe Lacoste has 10 lines to choose from, ranging from traditional to ultra-modern, all available in 18 different finishes. Give me a call and let's make